And we appear to be live already. So no warm up for us at this point, guys. So thank you to everybody that came out. Lady B, as always, you are a mensch, and thank you for your assistance in getting this all set up. Never could have done it without you. Oh, and we have our guest. So I'm going to invite Desmond to join us.
Hello.
Hey, Desmond.
What's happening?
Not too much. We are in the process of thanking everybody that came out to join us. So, you and yours as well. But Jack R., Jonathan R., we got all the
There
R's
we
in the
go.
chat.
Now you can see my pretty face.
There it is. You got some lighting going on.
A little bit better. I lost one of my lights today. So I'm a little left lit right now. So I've got that whole Picasso shadow going on.
The ideal angle thing. I get you.
Exactly. All right, here's Justin. He's texting in.
I got you.
I don't know. Am I well lit?
You're, as always, Dan. You knock it out of the park, especially on the lighting. Sometimes the sound is a little questionable on your end, but the lighting is always good. I need to move my mouse or my mic closer. Apparently,
I can always do this.
Lean in a little closer. Give it the ASMR look.
Oh God, there's apparently some old video out there somewhere. I forget whose stream it was on, but doing the Rafe leaked script ASMR finger blast scene with Egwene. I'm pretty sure that's on the internet somewhere, and I'll never live it down.
I gotcha. Desmond, were you? Oh, have you seen that leaked script?
No.
Oh my God! It is wild.
There's a very open debate whether or not it was better or worse than the actual final production, because it did include some pretty ridiculous shit, like Guitar Moroso wanting Moraine to kill the dragon.
Oh.
But it also apparently had the Dark Rider on the Quarry Road, which would have made a lot of sense.
See, we need to get Justin in here so he knows what you're. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
I'm on the 9th chapter of the 4th book.
Okay.
Jealous.
Yeah. You should be caught up on all this stuff. So Guitar Moroso was the Aes Sedai that sent Moraine and Swan searching for the dragon.
Yes.
She was the one who had the prophecies.
Okay.
But she didn't say kill it in the books. She kind of orchestrated Rand's whole birth, right? By sending Tigraine to the Aiel Waste. Hints at it and by the 4th book. But she also precipitated the whole Aiel War to get the Aiel to cross the Dragon Wall so that Rand could be born on Dragon Mount. But she was not all about getting Rand murdered by the first Aes Sedai she sent to go.
Now, do we learn this in the books proper, or do we have to learn this in New Spring?
You learn it in the books proper.
Okay.
In part that it requires reading comprehension, but it seems like Guitar Moroso kind of egging King Layman of Cairhien on to cut down the tree.
Let me tell you how I finished book 3. I finished book 3 on 1.7 speed, driving to the movie theater so I could watch Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny for a different podcast.
Okay.
That's okay. I never saw that movie. Was that movie as rough as everybody makes it out to be?
I my other podcast is a time travel movie podcast. So I will listen to anyone who says it's not an actual good film.
Okay.
It's a fun time travel ride. I mean, you gotta. It's so funny. People always forget. Sorry, we're getting way off Wheel of Time topic here, but people forget how fantastic Indiana Jones is from the jump. As terrible as the 4th one was with the aliens,
I haven't even seen the fourth one.
When Jesus melts your face off in the first movie, like, sorry, aliens are not that far.
not Barfield. That's fair, but that is actually a comparison that I actually have heard in regards to the second season. That is, people were so unhappy about Egwene and Nynaeve not, or Elaine and Nynaeve not saving Egwene, that their attitude was, well, those two characters could have been entirely removed from the season, and it wouldn't have changed the plot at all. And one of the counter responses was, well, that's you could say the same thing about Indiana Jones. That if Indiana Jones hadn't been in the first movie, they still get their faces melted off by the ark.
They would have found the ark, taken the lid off, and died.
Yeah, but that's a legitimate deficiency of Raiders.
I agree.
I need to take another break here. I'm trying to get Justin in here.
Oh, good.
Is it? Sorry, I know we're live and we're boring people with tech chat here. Do you have to have cookies turned off or anything to get Justin's? His browser keeps saying no.
Yeah. So what I've noted is with StreamYard in particular, this was it? Chrome works, but like Safari and sometimes Edge doesn't work very well.
Okay, I'll pass that on.
Yep, and luckily people are kind of used to us being live and working through our tech issues on the fly. We have a very patient chat that often even helps us with this. Whisker Fisherman, good to see you, man. Is Steve still going on with that fight autopsy thing? That was he and Nathan are going to town on that thing. That's going to be a great video. I can't wait to watch all 4 hours of it.
At 1.75 speed.
Oh yeah. But there are the boys. Illiberal Autist, good to see you, man. And Prophet of the Dragon, good to see you. Let me know if you want to jump in at whenever you want. I see Jeremy down here. And it appears that his mic and camera are not connected. And as soon as he gets one of those two in, I can let him in. Dempsey, you the man, buddy. And Hussein, good to see you as well. So now is Jeremy I know there's three of you guys, and as I listen to you, I sometimes get you flipped around. Is Jeremy the hardcore book guy, or is that the other one?
Jeremy's the original hardcore book guy. Jeremy bumped into the books first and then introduced them to Justin, their cousins growing up. And then I started the books after the show started. Justin tricked me into starting this podcast because when he said there's this show coming out called The Wheel of Time, I'm like, well, that sounds like a time travel TV show. That'll be a great sister podcast to my time travel movie show. 2 years later, I'm knee deep in fantasy book lore, and I can't get out.
That's funny. That's actually really funny. All right, so I'm gonna pull Jeremy in here and then apologize to him because I want to say thank you to Prophet of the Dragon for gifting one membership. If I ever figure out how StreamYard works, I will let you know who got that free membership.
Can I have it? Because I honestly have no idea if I've got any type of special. I'm on this freaking channel and everybody's a mod in chat except for me. So
I'll send him a Wheel of Time. I'll send him a Thank the Light sticker. How's that sound?
There you go.
Yes.
Also want to say thank you to Man of Leandrin, and but star of the show I think is Jeremy, so wanted to welcome him.
Let's hope not.
Okay. Now there's three of you cats. So are we expecting a third one on, or is it time to kick off?
He's working on it. He's going to try his other laptop real quick. And then if we get a thumbs up from that, then we should be good to go.
I can empathize.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
I did some. I because of this was happening. I was like, holy crap! I've never live streamed before. I should check my internet connections, and I didn't realize how badly I've been nerfing my internet connection with bad dongles and wrong Wi-Fi connection, and so I've like literally tripled my speed in the last 2 days in preparation for this. So I'm zooming.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Oh, we know all about that. Remember when we were doing our rewatch, Alex, and Pips basically had to stream the actual episodes from his spotty North Carolina internet that kind of went down whenever there was a thunderstorm.
That was it is amazing to see how far we've come on this stuff. Why am I getting work messages?
I live in the country, so I know exactly what it's like to have spotty internet or bad internet for a long time.
I gotcha. That so I'm gonna say hi to Jonathan R. Good to see the Whitecloaks back. Good to have you. Jacob Ironside, good to have you as well. Steve, I can't tell if this is another. Oh, Prophet of the Dragon became a YouTube member. Thank you,
wow,
Steve. I don't know why I'd assumed you'd been a member with us for a couple of years now, but glad you made it. John Solo, good to have you. Zax, you're the man, buddy. I'm sorry you're not feeling good, man. I was looking forward to seeing you on with Carmen today, but it goes how it goes. So I'm going to then I guess kick this off. Generally, when we start off, we get a new guest on. We kind of ask, what was the your introduction to the Wheel of Time series, and sort of how'd you get here? So I think Desmond answered this a little bit. So I'm gonna pose it to Jeremy first.
Yeah, I started off. I think I want to say I was probably 13 or 14, and was at the bookstore and just saw the cover, and I went, "Ah, that looks pretty good." And I bought the books, took it home, started reading it, and was like, wait, only girls can use the magic? Lame. So I put it on the shelf and it sat there for like a year. And I was kind of a dumb kid too. So it sat there.
You were 13. We were all dumb when we were 13.
Exactly.
It's a very reasonable position to have when you're 13.
Yeah, girls are gross, and I'm the coolest thing that's ever lived. So then that's probably the next summer. I'm sitting, like I said, I grew up in the country, so I'm sitting around, bored out of my mind, can't drive, can't do anything. And I go to the old bookshelf, and I pull it off the shelf. And this is probably 91, I'm guessing. And I started reading it, and then got through the first 3 chapters, and I just couldn't put it down, As soon as they leave the 2 rivers, it's like, oh my gosh, it's off. And finished that book, and then went straight to the bookstore. Both The Great Hunt and help me out here, guys. Dragon Reborn.
The one after that.
Desmond's even standing there going like, "What?"
It's like
TDR.
It's like
TDR
Harry Potter
to the
now.
Cool kids.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm not a cool kid.
It's like Harry Potter.
Those.
Just year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. Like book 1, book 2, book 3.
We got a new member, Zax. Appreciate the membership as always, man. Love you guys, and one of our earliest supporters back before we were kicked off of Reddit. So he's been the man even before the Whitecloaks YouTube existed. Gadfly Fiction is here. Dildo Gaggins is Leroy Jenkins with an outstanding name.
Jesus, hell, he's doubling up on that.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
And, we got Dane back.
Sorry about that. I've got a very shitty, well, not shitty. I've got a decent docking station, but it's been fucking acting up the last month. So I might pop in and out, but I never dropped away from actually seeing you guys. But every once in a while, this USB connection just drops to the laptop. There's nothing I can do about it without spending $500 on a new one of these things.
I got you. Some of the folks in the chat seem to be playing with our emotes, but I can't figure out how to make those work. So I will take a look at that when I wrap up here. But so Desmond, I guess you're up next. You said Jeremy kind of twisted your arm into this.
No, Justin. So
He thought
The
it was
other
about,
one.
he thought
The
it was
other
about
one.
time travel.
Yeah.
Now, there's an element to that, but he needs to learn about balefire in the next book.
Yeah, Balefire, and I keep hearing about this this town that's stuck in a time loop.
Yeah,
with,
that's a Sandersonism. That's
That is
yeah. If you don't like if you don't like Sanderson, then Rafe Judkins is really a shit heel.
right. Like I tell you what, man, if there was anything about this playthrough that really made me I like Sanderson more than I ever thought I was going to after watching this. And, I think we have our third Wolf brother here. We're
Shit!
we're welcoming Fatty, who does not live up to his name.
He's living fat.
I got you.
Rocking the Batcave lighting more than I did.
Right?
Justin
I sort
has
of live in a large trailer.
I tell all my friends,
homeowner
like,
come
if I could get Fatty has the best sound. I produce and engineer and edit 7 podcasts. Justin has the best sound of all 12 of my hosts because he sits in a trailer full of pillows. It's like no echo.
Yep, you can hear every ball hit in high def.
That's awesome.
I shit you not. Our podcast or rewatch director Pips was complaining so much about my sound not that long ago. I actually had to move a whole shit ton of pillows into my fucking room here just so he would shut up about it.
That's awesome. So
seriously, I set 7 cushions from the deck set that I had, and I even pulled in some of the leather ones from the couch and my mom's quilt and just laid it around, and apparently it sounded better.
Right, you made a little pillow fort for yourself.
Yeah, I did. Then I just bought this fucking pop filter, and I think that fixed everything.
This thing right here, I just bought this mic. It's got an internal pop filter.
Ooh,
What?
Ooh.
Fucking love it.
nice.
Nice.
That's a professional.
Nice and close.
Sweet. So, Justin, then all of our new guests get asked the question: how did you get introduced to the Wheel of Time?
Look,
There we go.
we got some rural internet again.
Sorry, guys. I had to switch computers real quick, and so it's yeah. I think it wasn't letting me in because I had an aftermarket. My one Mac broke, and I replaced the screen, but then my replaced screen didn't have a camera in it, or like it wasn't working. So I got an aftermarket camera, and it just wasn't letting me get access. So I had to.
So remember, Justin, I can't edit out all of your tech talk this time.
All of my dumb shit stuff that I say. Nice to meet you guys. Glad to be here.
Absolutely, good to have you here. So I guess first question then is what are you drinking, and then the second question is how'd you get involved with the Wheel of Time?
Tonight I'm drinking some Buffalo Trace.
Ooh, there you go.
Sweet bourbon whiskey. What about you guys? You drink anything good?
I'm not trying to be good this time of year, and it's absolutely killing me.
I work in the cannabis industry. There's no being good. Every day is important.
I gotcha.
That being said, Wheel of Time. Actually, this dickhead over here that we can't see, Jeremy, he introduced me to it when we were kids. He's my cousin, and I think I was about, I don't know, probably 14-ish or so, maybe a little later. But yeah, I started reading it then. He's like, man, you got to check these books out. And fell in love with the characters, obviously, and the story. And just like a lot of people, reread them every time a new one came out. And just, my parents taught me to be a really good employee, but Robert Jordan taught me how to be a better human. So
that is absolutely a reality. I make a joke that the Great Hunt is the how-to book on how to be a man.
Yeah.
But I think it's accurate. So I guess the Wheel of Time, the fan edit guy, said was a big suggester that we talked to you guys about the Wheel of Time, both because you have some excellent book takes, but also because you guys apparently like the show more than we do, which is not a difficult bar to step over. Because
like I said, you guys might be auditioning Jeremy for your next member. We might be trading it out.
Well, I was telling
not all of us
Alex
love this
before
show.
that. Well, there are parts of the show that I like, but it's kind of limited just to Elaine's left tit and her right tit, and that's about it. That's like a solid.
This is going to be fun.
5%.
I got to catch up.
That's
a little bit.
like
I'm gonna drink some more.
solid 5% of the airtime, right?
Well, that's
like,
what I refer to as that area that you speak of. I refer to as Dragon Mount.
There you go.
Or Nynaeve's resting bitch face. So
yeah, no one likes that, but it's
which
more
is
like,
not solving every problem in the show, as Jeremy likes to point out. Well, not second season, just first season.
Yeah, just the first season.
Second season, Egwene solved everything.
Right? I mean,
just the cause of and solution to all of her own problems.
Yeah.
Right.
Weird how that works.
But no, it's like, okay, maybe if it does make it to like the 6th or 7th season when Elaine has, in Abu Dar and going to get the oval cutout dress, I got something to look forward to at least. But like, that's it.
That bad, huh? Like, there's nothing that you like at all. Like, even like Hopper and Perrin's little moment of like learning his name. Like,
Hopper's
not even like
Hopper's a
little bits.
dog.
I love dogs.
I love dogs too, but he's not a no. But he's a dog in the show, and you can tell.
You can give him whatever name you want.
He's still a fucking dog.
He's still a dog, and that's how they basically went into the backyard of some Czech dude, and like had him jump for dog treats. Filmed it and then like put a filter on it, and that's kind of what they put in their little ghost image thing, and then Pern is like, okay, you're Hopper. Not, he gets sent a message like he wants to soar like the eagles and fly, and he always wanted to fly. And Hopper's kind of a derivative, kind of shorter nickname. No, it's literally it's a dog hopping for treats.
So what you're saying is he's not Turner or Hooch.
No, neither
he's,
one.
He's not even fucking Air Bud, and I'll give that one to you, Alex.
Oh, yeah, I'm
we're
glad
going like Beverly Hills, Chihuahua style.
Yeah, Zach's correct. It's not even a big dog. It's like a. That's actually one of the things.
Yeah, dire wolf. It is not. That is.
I got a more intimidating dog than Hopper from the show.
Me too. I do too. And you know what? My smaller. Okay, all right. I kind of disagree with you there.
Fitzy sighting.
Okay, you know what? That dog does look vicious. Look at that tongue.
Look at it.
Liquor license. Yep. Look at it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, Jared. I'd have to say they're wow. Okay, first of all, let me just say I tricked Desmond into starting this podcast.
I love how we've trickled in here.
Okay, did he already tell you the story of how I tricked him into it?
He's a time travel buff. He likes
yeah,
time
so I was like,
shows.
Wheel of Time. He's like, awesome. And I started talking, and his eyes rolled back in his head, and he was like, cool, let's do a podcast about it. And then,
anything that will shut you up about the stupid books.
I'll break all your Transformers again, bitch. Shut you.
Yeah,
and it turns
out
out
to look pretty. I can't even see your face.
You think the whole series is about cyclical time, and that it's just like one of the 7 ages, and it's very linear.
Yeah, it is quite linear.
Time is cyclical. Allow me to tell you the story of one cycle.
No. Let me tell you the story about like 23 degrees of arc on that cycle. That's what that is.
Yeah.
On a 7-spoke
on a 7-spoked wheel.
Why 7? Why 7?
Jeremy
Makes
hates
no
7.
sense.
Yeah.
It's an irrational.
It perfectly distributes the weight and the time.
It's prime.
Prime.
So
it's prime.
I will admit, man, I will definitely, this is something I found out I think I loved even more than Jeremy. I read these books. I still read them and listen to them all the time. And it's one of those things that you want to love so bad. I find myself being an apologist for the show a lot, even though there are things that I enjoy. I would prefer it to be done more of like Jeremy's actually pointed out a few times on the pod, more like The Last of Us. It's more of a straight across, adaptation, and you get a lot of fan service, which, I mean, when we're really talking about, no matter, I mean, all the bullshit on Twitter and going back and forth, and that's really what we want, right? We really want the story that we know. And I think that people like Randy Jeffcoat try to go too hard, as far as like, we don't want you people who have known this whole story for 30 years to guess everything we're going to do. It's like, we don't fucking care.
Yes.
We just want to see the things we want to see. Where the fuck is Matt? Why is Perrin's mouth open so much? Who's this wife that he killed? All of these things that, I want to look past because I want to love, I liked how the Trollocs looked. Ishmael is a great character. I think the casting is nailed. The sets are wonderfully beautiful. The writing can be good and bad. The acting's pretty good. There's a lot of things to like, but it's still not
okay.
the things that I want in Wheel of Time, right?
I need you to hit us with those one at a time so we can talk about them.
Sorry. Pick whatever you want. And
well, is that how we're gonna do it? Like sets one up and we try and knock it down.
Might as well. I mean,
Jeremy's been knocking me down for a year, so it's I'm ready.
Patty is standing tall against criticism.
I mean, the Trollocs crack us up because what we fucking die laughing at is there's two kinds of Trollocs. There is the Trollocs that are normal sized that can run and fight. And then there are the that are 5'11", and then there are the Trollocs on stilts that can't do anything. They can kind of sort of lumber. And once you catch this, it ruins everything. The other problem with the Trollocs is they were in the first 4.5 minutes of season 2, episode 1, and didn't show back up. So like, we can say like, man, we really like the Trollocs, but like, I'd like
where are they?
Trollocs to be in the show. Like,
well, no, that was answered in the show, Alex. They were just hungry, so obviously someone gave them like some food, and they're no longer a problem.
I give you an Uber Eats card, and you can fuck right off.
Right?
Exactly.
Could the battle of
go ahead, Red Robin, bro? Endless fries.
Right. If only we Pat would have known.
We had the show with the editor on, and I think it was, I think we were just discussing when the trailer first came out. And he said, this is just, this is our show because we throw out all these theories that they're not going to start the show.
Theories of how
there's no way. He said, there's no way they're going to start the show with that. That's going to be like in the middle of the show because there's just no backstory to it. And I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but they started off that show. There was no backstory to it, and then nothing came of it.
What are we talking about?
When
opening
Ishmael shows up, he has the little girl running around.
Talking about the Dark Friend Social that was
the Dark Friend Social, exactly.
That was that was filmed in a room that like if Patton Fane had to back his chair up to piss, Ishii would have had to stop because he couldn't get around him.
Yes, excuse me. I'm sorry. It'd have been like Tyler Durden.
The usual question is asked:
I get the crotch of the butt,
the balls or the ass?
Right. And it's like from a like in a visual medium, you want a sense of scale. Like you look at in Lord of the Rings, Saruman like giving the speech to the Uruk-hai, or like in Dune, like the new Dune movie, you have the armies of the Sardaukar, and it's just like, if you want to make a villain intimidating and powerful, you put him in a big room addressing a large amount of people who are scared of him. Having him in a fucking closet as you talk to somebody, that's just bad filmmaking. Like,
and he was being nice to the little girl. Like, honestly, the one thing that could have maybe saved that one scene is if he fed the girl to the Trolloc at the end.
I was ready for it to happen. I was like, he's gonna do it, and that's what you expect.
And then it didn't happen. So congratulations, expectations subverted. I thought the show might do something good once, and it didn't.
Well, and the one thing they're doing, and if you're good, bad, or ugly, consistency in one form or another at least shows you're thinking about it. And they're making, if you've never read the books, you're not going to read the books. You're just, you're just watching the show. You're probably pretty sucked in about who the bad guy is right now. And if you paint him the way the books are, or I shouldn't say bad guys, like we kind of know who's a darker shade of gray and who's a lighter shade of gray.
That's an issue.
That's part of the problem.
Not, it's an issue for now. If you've read the books and you know black and white who these people are, then yeah, it kind of drags on. But I still maintain that if you're making this show, which, like it or not, they're making this show as they're hoping to do a little bit of fan service, but they're also just trying to make a pure television program. And any TV show, it kind of like they, by the middle of season 3, you're like, who am I rooting for? Who am I rooting against? Which is annoying for people like you and me. But, if you're just in for the ride and hope this lasts 8 seasons, then, keeping you on your toes is not a bad thing.
I don't think they hope it lasts any more seasons.
I'm going to reject that notion on 2 fronts. The first is the idea that it is, if we're saying that this is exclusively for non-book readers, Hopper makes no sense. Like, Perrin losing his shit over Hopper's death makes no sense whatsoever. You need the books to give you the context of that in order for that to make sense. I'll give you another example. The Fade nailed to the door.
No, you're not. You're not wrong. I'm just saying on the just the basis of like, us not knowing cut and dry, black and white, that Pot and Fane is the worst of the worst, or that Ishmael is the worst of the worst.
No, it seems to be like since the anti-hero got elevated in television programs, ostensibly, you can probably point back to The Sopranos. You can point back to Breaking Bad. Characters that do bad things, but you still want to root for them. Yeah, sorry. Look, I can see that, but that. Sorry, whose noise is that?
Jeremy, mute your mic.
Oh.
There he is. Okay.
All right.
Like Leandrin, if you don't know Leandrin from the books, you're like, she might be okay. She's
she's not Leandrin from the books.
What was Leandrin's first show?
Leandrin in the show was incomprehensible. Her character motivation didn't make sense, good or bad. She was just insane. But the thing is, with fantasy shows, and Game of Thrones is an extension of the anti-hero, at least in part, because if you read the books, the first characters you all get introduced are good characters that all kind of get thrust into bad situations. So you can see how circumstance forces people against each other.
Well, the noblest characters are killed first in Game of Thrones.
In part, but Tyrion Lannister, who's on the team of the bad guys, right? That gets set up. Like all your characters, as you're reading through, they're all Starks, and you're rooting for the Starks. You're meant to root for the honorable Starks, and especially like when Jaime and Cersei, Bran catches them fucking, and you're just like, wow, these people are depraved beyond everything. But Tyrion's kind of off on the side, and he gets caught up when Catelyn Stark basically abducts him at the crossroads and whatnot. That was kind of cleverly well done. And the best part I like about reading Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, is how George R. R. Martin can take a depraved character like Jaime Lannister, and by the 3rd book, actually make you empathize with him.
Yeah.
Dare I say, start to like him at the end and root for him a little bit because he starts to.
But whenever I restart the books, right, I have to basically gain some perspective on here. Like he is not, a cut and dried black and white character. That's fine if that's what that is. But the Wheel of Time is not that. The Wheel of Time has got a creator. It has a dark one. It has good people. It has evil people. It explores evil in different kinds of ways. And what I actually very much like is pointing out one of the reasons why the light succeeds in the Wheel of Time is that the evil people cannot get along. So show the Forsaken, who all had different motivations for turning to the dark, but because of their inherent selfishness, they cannot cooperate. And yes, they've got all the knowledge, all the power, all the history of the Age of Legends on their side. It seems like they've got all the advantages, but because they cannot cooperate or work together, and they're constantly fighting each other more than they're even fighting against Rand, that's kind of allows him to triumph in the end. What a wonderful theme to basically take and run with. So why do you have to show me what I've already seen in Game of Thrones, what I've already seen in The Sopranos, what I've already seen in Breaking Bad? Why can't you show me a straight up good versus evil story? Because that's what was written, and 90 million books, man.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a built-in audience, you would think, that people want to see.
Yeah, there's a built-in audience, but it's what you need, because if you're 90 million books, you have a built-in audience. If that built-in audience turns around and starts shitting on your show word of mouth, it's dead.
Yeah,
it's dead on arrival. That's what happened.
Well, that's because Jeremy's buying 3 copies of each book, so those numbers.
You're not wrong.
Those numbers are faulty.
I'm gonna try. Let's see. I'm gonna try to play devil's advocate for you guys, because it's hard to argue with. I'm the type of fucking moron that the new Star Wars that just came out, the last 3, they're terrible. I still watch them sometimes. I loved Solo. Okay. I'm okay. I just, that's me. I'm happy enough with the things that I do that are ghosts. What I'm happy this is that it's not Legend of the Seeker. That was going to be one of my questions for you. It's bad. Don't worry. You don't need to see it. I'll just let you
please
know.
don't.
It's real fucking terrible. Yeah, please don't.
Well,
my question to you guys was, if there were, how dare you? It's not
like the books aren't as good. I agree with you on that, but
after the 3rd book, it just becomes dungeon porn, so it's not great. It's very good. It's got some issues.
So it gets better
for you, maybe. not for I.
Well, I want to disagree with anti-communist dungeon porn.
Yeah.
It's seriously, yeah.
He's not wrong, dude. He's not wrong.
All right.
I want to disagree with you about things, but I mean, making Leandrin such a large character and having her divert so much from the book, I think takes away from the story. It takes away from the storyline of kind of the Wonder Girls being kidnapped. I want to love so many things, and they just kind of bungle it. I mean, obviously, you guys think more than kind of, but there are things that I want to look past.
Do you mind if I take this one?
Yeah, go ahead, and if you don't
rush me.
Okay.
All right. If you don't, I will. All right.
Okay. So when it comes to Leandrin,
I feel like I got invited on to be a punching bag, but that's all right.
Not at all. Not at all. So the first issue that I would take with the Leandrin argument is, what was Leandrin's first scene in the show? It was her gleefully cackling at her basically doing a for lack of a better term, a lynching of a dude with her red sisters in the
that's more or less what it is. So she was Judge, Judy, and Executioner.
Cut off his balls.
But not only Judge, Jury, and Executioner, she laughed and belittled him while she did it. So if you need to convince me that this is a complicated, non-evil character, my first impression of the character can't be her gleefully, magically lynching a guy. I mean,
people forget about that.
People. So that's a problem. But the other issue, and you touched on it, the Leandrin problem is, why was Leandrin second in dialogue this season, behind only Moraine? I mean, this show. Yeah.
Well, and Moraine
that's
only
not
got
surprising, dude.
And she was number 1 up until the last episode.
Yeah.
Episode 7 or episode 8. But I mean, people complain people say stuff like, Leandrin is better in the show. My question is, at what opportunity cost? I mean, you can't say, Leandrin is better, but then say Rand, Matt, and Perrin suck and are underdeveloped, because one is the cause of the other.
Right.
You-
Also, Kate Fleetwood's great. That doesn't mean that she needs to run the second season.
To be in
Like,
everything.
she's a fantastic actor, and the scenes they give her are well done, but they don't make sense and they're not needed. We need more Rand and Matt, and I mean, that's my biggest thing. Is like, I mean, and I know Barney Harris and all that shit, but fucking A, where's Matt, dude? He become. You said that Great Hunt is a playbook how to be a man and a bad friend. Matt's a lot better friend after that. Because he's kind of a dick before that. So in the books anyway, but the fact that Matt's not there, the fact that Perrin is underdeveloped, like you said, and just they ruined his character the whole first season. He's like fucking Eeyore in the corner, which made Perrin is probably one of the characters that I identify most as an adult, as a dad, as a husband, as far as like his loyalty to people and his love for people and the willingness to do things that most people wouldn't even consider to save them. Then they've just ruined his character the first season, so I really hope it comes around.
So Desmond, would you mind reading the super chat for us?
The Nerdporial Life Form. Thank you for the $2. Thanks for having a convo with my White Cloak bros.
Awesome.
I wish I knew who Nerdporial.
He's got his own channel.
Oh, Nerdporial. Yeah. Sorry.
Nerdporial, learn how to talk.
I know.
So-
Thank you, Alex.
So just if Alex didn't kill you yet, I'm just going to point out that this kind of goes beyond Leandrin with the show, especially in the second season. It's something that I noted.
Oh no, she's the only problem with the show.
No, it is. So,
And Jeremy's shitty opinions.
if we think about other characters that had kind of a lot of screen time or more screen time in season 2 than they ever showed up in the books, we'd have to extend that very much so to Alana and the 2 warders, the double penetrator. We'd have to extend it maybe a little bit to Varen, but definitely Cho Chang Sedai and Tiny Sedai, who were
God damn it, Jeremy. These are your people,
friends
dude.
in the Brown Aja.
Moraine's
Swan.
sister.
Her drunk
Moraine's-
little people friends in the Brown Aja.
Do we have enough time for you guys to discuss Moraine's sister?
I'm getting to my point. So there is Anvair, or Anavair, I forget. She shows up in a single line in A New Spring, and she was basically the third most important character this season. Barthanes, who's apparently her son, who likes his butter and jambon sandwiches that we got a lot of detail on. We had what else did we have? We had Sheriam and some of her nonsense.
Miss Bliss.
Yeah, and we had some more stuff with Swan Sanche. And at the end of the day, none of those characters were in the final episode.
Yep.
So the episode where the whole story had to wrap up and come together, and even Brandon Sanderson was on the stream and saying, wish they had more time and did this and did that. Wait a second. What do you mean more time? You could have followed the plot of the book and just cut out Barthanes and putting butter on both sides of the bread, and you probably would have gotten a shitload farther. And you could have had Rand sneaking through the fucking woods on Kinslayer's dagger, stealing the horn back from Padden Fane, right?
Yeah,
you could have
been great.
You could have had Rand with Celine, not fucking yet. Apparently that relationship was already going.
Don't you dare take away.
Don't take that from Desmond.
That's the
Yeah.
favorite part of the show,
Right.
dude.
No.
That's the thing.
But-
It's like Robert
But
Jordan's
getting into
relationships are always so
Tremoncian,
subtle.
getting into Tremoncian and seeing the Choden Call, right? And getting that little bit of foreshadowing and that danger and Celine kind of pulling him back from the precipice, being genuinely frightened for the first time. You could have had Tom back in the foregate. You didn't have to do a 30-second scene with some guy in a Gleeman cloak or someone with a puppet Trolloc or whatnot. You could have actually had a genuine kind of reunification moment. There are so many good scenes from The Great Hunt that they could have done. And instead, we got Anavair wanting a fucking tea party with her little sister who is older than her.
damn it, and I hate to even back you up, but that whole scene where they're on the cliff, him and Lanfear when they're about to fuck or whatever, that could have been the part where you put the Choden Call instead of having him kill a Fade with like some weird fire sit down power. But
Yeah, but
You mean
that wouldn't let
when they were sleeping
land
outside
the
of the
same.
cabin that was fully lit and had a
That-
fire
that's-
going in it.
and warm. Yeah, that also Jeremy and I made fun of that too. But it's like it's one of the things that kind of like, God, I'm fucking agreeing with you guys, and I want to punch myself in the dick about it. But
Oh, you'll be here all night, man.
yeah, I know, dude. It's seriously, dude. It's no, this is a lot of fun already, actually. But it wouldn't land the same because they haven't. One of the things that is the biggest problem with the show, besides the fucking 5-headed dragon, and the dragon might be a girl. The dragon's a girl. There's no fucking problem, right?
Yeah, there's no fucking plot.
I don't want to get you started. Trust me, I don't want to wind you up. But
fucking Swan Sanchez said it in this fucking season. She basically said it. This would be so much easier if you were a girl.
Okay, it's TV. They're trying to keep it mystery. Okay.
No.
God, I wish I could see Jeremy's face right now.
Dan, we need to let our guests talk.
God, did you notice that Varen actually quoted the actual prophecy on Toman Head? On Toman Head, he will proclaim himself.
He will proclaim himself. And I get it. It's a different turn of the wheel. They're trying to keep them in for the TV. But that's the first problem right there. And aside from that, they haven't conveyed the horror that it is to be a man that can channel. It seems mildly inconvenient. Oh, well, Uncle Charlie's crazy, and sometimes he tries to, I don't know, fucking touch the horse.
Charlie likes to drink. Leave him alone.
The biggest problem with being a male channeler in this show is that the Red Aja shows up and fucks you up. That is the biggest problem.
Right. That's I think is the hardest thing for me to like. Trust me, I'm not stupid, man. I know that there is huge problems with this show. I want to love it so much. I look past so much of it. But the fact that horrific, like I've been re-listening. I'm right between Fires of Heaven I'm in Fires of Heaven. That you're not conveying how horrifying it is to be a male channeler, and like how it is the worst thing that could happen.
So
it's worse than like getting blue balls in the back of a Chevy.
Much worse.
So much worse. You can handle that yourself. You can't fix madness. Well, Rand does at the end of the book, kind of, but it's more like isolating the madness. I don't know.
So I think it's interesting. You brought up the Star Wars. I call them fake Star Wars, but when you look at Rogue One. The scene where Darth Vader comes down the hallway and just trucks the rebellion.
Pretty awesome.
Isn't that so easy to do if you're showing Logain? Like, just copy it. Just, they already did the scene of Logain taking Gildan. Just put that in there. And that accomplishes so much. So, even the stuff in which, taking outside the story, they struggled to do basic filmmaking things, which, makes this even more of a drag to watch. But I'm sorry, we're monopolizing the conversation. But
no, that's okay because, like I said, I've had to defend all these points, and it's like it seems hollow sometimes. I feel like I should just be honest with you guys. Like, there's a lot of times when I defend it too because he's my cousin. I want to punch him anyway. I haven't seen him for a long time, and I keep reaching, and like you guys. I don't know if you guys have talked to the editor since the season 1 edit come out. We just had him on at the end of last season, and one of the things that he points out is whose fucking show is this? This season belongs to Ishmael Lanfear for the most part, and Moraine.
Maybe.
But I think that's because Moraine's arc will come to an end next season.
No way.
Absolutely.
There's no
She's
way
going to either die or go through the doorway. And let's talk about the doorways. How bad are they going to butcher the Finn storyline if they even give it to us?
They're not going to do it. There's a reason there's a reason Matt already has his Ashendari in his memories.
Do you think that's going to be the Ashendari forever?
Oh, well, Brandon Sanderson seemed to think it was.
I know. I've heard him say that. I've heard other people say like, no, it's not. But it's like
that's it. The only way that it's not is if the reaction from this is so bad that they backpedal and realize, oh my God, everybody's laughing at us. We have to fix this.
And that was what I said from the beginning. when Justin
I didn't love
brought
it.
up. But somebody said that if you think that that's Matt's Ashendare, then you're seriously mistaken, or something like that on Twitter. I think, didn't you say that, Justin?
I think it was Sarah Nakamura responding
Okay.
to the.
So Sarah Nakamura says that, and I said, well,
with
that's what you
Brandon
would
Sanders.
say.
I could be wrong, but
Sarah Nakamura has regularly lied about this production.
Yeah. Well, I said
Yeah,
that's what you would
okay.
say if you put something out there and everyone hated it. Well, now we can go back and say, well, see, we can actually give him the Ashendare now and say, see,
Jeremy, you like to use the term retcon a lot.
yes, exactly.
Well, I mean, they do it a lot with this show. I mean, Loyal is still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that was one of my first things that I'm like, what the fuck? He got stabbed with the dagger. He should be a bloated pile of oil on the floor or something, at the end of that. But
Yep.
And not only that, they don't ever even explain to you why he's not.
No, they just casually shrug it off.
Moving on.
Which, in their defense, if you put me in charge of season 3, that's exactly what I would do. We would ignore the first 2 seasons, and it would just be, we'd basically do Rand taking the Stone of Tyr. We'd just do basically the back half of the Dragon Reborn, and we would just pretend that this first 2 abominations never happened. So, like, I get where the strategy.
So it's like Halloween.
Any chance they go there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any
chance they go there 3rd season? And if they did, would you be like, okay, cool? Or would you be like, it still sucks?
Well, I mean, they've said they're doing the Shadow Rising now. And I also...
Like, if they do it justice, would you be like, okay, fuck the first 2 seasons, but I'm on board with the 3rd season?
If they basically came out and said, look, we knew it was rough. We're firing some people. We're getting back on track. Please bear with us and be patient. And then they came out with a good season 3 that really did focus on establishing Rand, Matt, and Perrin. Yeah, I'd forgive them, but they're not going to do that. They're not going to get rid of the people that are responsible for this. And I mean, it's just the institutional ideology that creates this product cannot admit that it made a mistake. So it's not going to change.
It's going to get worse.
With that golden shovel.
My dream is that in order to recoup some of their money, they sell it to the CW, and the CW makes a
27 seasons,
a Vampire Slayer version of this show that lasts 12 seasons, and we get a lot of shirts off, a lot of shirtless hunks, way more making out.
Lots of Elaine's nipples.
Desmond, you joke about this, but I asked for a One Tree Hill version of the intro to this show on the Whitecloaks subreddit way back in the day, and within half an hour, another user had basically spliced that together. It's on our YouTube channel.
Awesome.
And if you have such dedicated listeners, make me a Buffy CW Wheel of Time, please.
That would be awesome. And I'll be honest, if I was put in charge of this and we had to demonstrate that the boys are powerful, there would be several shirtless montage scenes of them training and getting good at weapons. Like, I mean, like
I was making jokes like, what if the reason why they haven't had that is because like Yosha just like keeps like hitting himself in the face with a sword. He just like cannot get it. Like they're like, dude, we can't make the stuntman believable. He just like keeps hitting himself in the dick with the practice sword. Like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
God, my response would be, why did we cast somebody to star in an action series that can't perform action roles? But the counterpoint to that, the counterpoint to that is always, why did they cast what's her face in Rings of Power? So clearly, this is not a standard that they uphold.
What do you guys think about the casting overall?
Awful,
terrible.
Really?
I mean, I guess to start out with, they cast somebody as Matt who was unreliable and didn't show up. So that's pretty much an automatic F for me. Marcus Rutherford, I'm not convinced.
I'm talking more looks other than character, but as far as like headcanon, you know what I mean?
I mean, Rand is all right. Nobody else really
He's not tall enough, but
It's hard to find a 6
what are you
foot
gonna get?
6
Some
actor.
fucking, yeah, you're gonna get some fucking. At least they didn't cash Machine Gun Kelly, dude. Come on, you're gonna find some 6 guys. Oh, he's 6'6" and got tattoos. That doesn't matter.
The non-Aiel women or the non-Avienda Aiel are pretty good.
You know what's funny too? Is,
Massimo was okay.
if you watch this show, do you even know that there are men Aiel?
No.
No.
Oh, there's only been one, and he was killed. And so
he was dead already.
Yeah, if you forget about that, you're like, oh, maybe they're just
he had a gem on him, which means like they killed him and put him in a cage and then did loot his corpse.
Didn't search his pockets. Yeah, that.
Yeah, that's Matt. What did Mad Max teach us all in Princess Bride? Like when they're dead, there's only one thing else you can do, and that's like go through their pockets and look for loose change. That was guaranteed to happen.
Yep.
It's mostly
dead.
Exactly.
The armed Aiel.
So here's what I'll say about the casting, and
I don't mind it.
This is the gripe that kind of got thrown at us from the outset as being Whitecloaks or whatnot. The casting's the first thing that people are going to see when a show gets announced, and everyone's going to kind of look at it. And for the most part, you don't give a shit about particular ones, but I mean, when it's a plot point, when Rand looking distinct but believably a member of the community is a plot point, and when it's a fantasy setting where it's a diverse world, but each setting is diverse. It's diverse in its own way. You expect the two rivers to be homogenous because it is isolated. So when you see the two rivers looking like an airport departure lounge, you kind of be like, what the fuck is going on here? And this is a spoiler for Desmond, it's a plot point too for the two rivers itself, because early on in book 6, you've got the Fail point of view in the prologue, where she's noting how there are refugees coming over the mountains of mist from Terrebonne and Eridamon and Almond Plain, and that they're coming to the two rivers, bringing new trades, new industries, new technologies, and life in the two rivers is being enriched by it. That's a very progressive message. Like the only thing that the people of the two rivers are having issues with, people are wearing beards and maybe growing mustaches, and the Domani Hussies have their slutty dresses and whatnot. Whoa.
Why do these dudes have earrings and scarves over their face?
Right. But like Fail as the lady and pointing out like people are coming in and they found like new ore deposits and the towns are basically, they're all booming because of it.
With thatch roofs.
And the thing is,
tile roofs.
You could have had that in the show and be in line with a progressive pro-refugee, pro kind of immigration message if that's your thing. And you know what? It's book canon. That's how it was written in the book. It's fine. But you can't do that if the two rivers is diverse from the outset, right? If it's diverse from the outset, it can't become any more diverse, if you get kind of what I mean. So it was a layup for them.
When a visual medium, you can just do it, but you have to have people look like the Tinkers, and like they've done a good job with the costumes, so they can do it that way. But I understand what you're saying.
All right, all right. We need to talk about the Aes Sedai ring pop.
But anyways, but that's the gripe about some of the casting and whatnot. Is it is a diverse world, but holy fuck, like everyone was expecting Tar Valon to be diversity central. It looked less diverse than the two rivers did, and that just doesn't fucking make any sense.
Yep, and I'll add another layer to this, which was the sort of the meta commentary of this. We know that Amazon has racial quotas with their acting. We know that their internal quota is 50% of your cast has to be a minority, or else you get hauled in front of the commissar. That's their publicly stated policy. They publish it proudly. To then have two things happen. The first is they have their influencers come out and lie to us and say, "Oh no, there was no agenda behind this casting. This was just the best people for the job." And you have people like Daniel Green, the Matt Hatch, whatever the fuck the dude's name is, just lying to us and saying, "No, Perrin has always been black." And you're just like, "No, you're a fucking liar." And then the sort of, when this came out, it was a different time. The "Oh, the fans are just racist" argument still had some gas left in the tank, whereas now it's sort of become, nobody buys that excuse anymore. And that was very much weaponized when it came to this show. So not only was it wrong sort of from a story perspective, from an outside perspective, and from a meta perspective, to see those arguments utilized, I found to be troubling. You shouldn't be taking minorities and throwing them in front of the criticism of your show, because you made a bad product and you're going to get ridiculed for it.
So let me just trying to understand. Your problem isn't that headcanon Perrin wasn't black and he was cast as a black guy. It was more like, hey, you're throwing out there like, we had to put these people in these roles to satisfy something, and that's why they're using it as an excuse for their show not being what they want.
Well, it was a combination of things. It was, first of all, I find the idea of racial quotas in the first place to be reprehensible. I think most people feel that way. Second is, if you cast somebody for a role based on a racial quota and the person is not killing it in their role, which I think we can all probably agree that Perrin's actor is not killing it, it causes further questioning of the validity of the hiring process. And then the third problem was the lying about it. You can't lie to a community that's been around for 30 years when every single piece of art of Perrin that has ever been existed has been one way, including by people who have now come out and changed their opinion on it. I mean, that's just blatantly lying to people. And then the fourth was,
they did it deliberately in order to, because they knew they were going to get attacked on it, and they did it deliberately because the people who are going to attack it, it's the diversity shield tactic. Yeah. I mistakenly said it's a defensive tactic. They want to defend the show. Alex pointed out it's actually an offensive tactic. You're inviting an attack because you know you're going to get hit on it. Then when you do get hit, you dismiss everyone as racist, and basically your show you deem immune from criticism, because everyone who criticizes the show at this point is just doing it because they're racist, and that's offensive on so many levels. Like the Wheel of Time,
right? I do agree with that, but those things wouldn't exist if it hadn't been that way for a long time. So I do have a little bit more patience with it. At the same time, you're not wrong. But those opinions exist for a reason, and
but you're right. You make a good point that
enough in the Wheel of Time to show diverse.
They just had to be patient, and they weren't willing to be patient because
Robert Jordan went out of his way. Like all the different countries, all the different cultures that he developed, they were all
very inclusive all the way around.
There's supposed to be a mishmash of 2 or 3 kind of other real world cultures, right? No one was supposed to basically look at, maybe except for Andor being like, okay, that's English, that's like Arthurian legend. But I mean, there's elements of Asian and French in Kyrian. There's very Bushido elements in Shinar and the Borderlands.
The Borderlands.
But land's got blue eyes, kind of thing.
Well, and it all makes sense.
There's Spanish and Chinese in Tyr.
I would argue that Era Daman is quite literally the Arab one. But
also Terabon with the fails.
But I'm sorry, Desmond, go ahead.
Yeah. It goes along with every fucking thing else in the story after the breaking. Like the people on this side of the mountain don't know how to fish, and the people on this side of the mountain don't know how to herd sheep, and so the diversity of
these people used to live in the ice, and now they live in the desert.
So it makes sense that they've been separated for so long that whatever color and culture they are, it would be the same. And the breaking broke them and isolated everybody.
And that they would become distinguished. So that's the other kind of point. Like, it's a fantasy world. It's a pre-industrial world. It's a distant transportation. The implications of there being people who look sub-Saharan African, people who look very Asian, people who look white as Matt and half black like Perrin or Nynaeve in the Two Rivers, the only way for that all those phenotypes to coexist in an isolated village is for that isolated village to be incredibly racist and inbred for thousands of years, because otherwise they would have mixed and all started to look alike.
Yep.
And so this is outside of our modern day kind of discussion. This is just talking about a fantasy setting in a pre-industrial world and wanting it to be realistic.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, it's not, I get that there's magic and it's not real. With fantasy, what you do is you add an element of, here's a bit of magic, how does the world look? But everything still has to logically make sense at the end of the day. And good fantasy does that. The really bad fantasy is the fantasy that basically says, well, because there's magic, I don't have to follow any rules whatsoever. It just is what I say it is. That leads to the shittiest fucking content and the shittiest writing and the shittiest shows. So
well, and you know, you take away, if somehow you take away a lot of the other problems, then this becomes less of a problem. But when the show from just the offset is, you know, taking so many diversions from the book, then, you know, it makes sense. Like you said, like, then you go with, you know, casting right off the bat. And it's like, well, we should have known in 2018 that it's not going to be the books.
It's the first thing you see, right? You can't form a judgment about the writing or the plot or anything else. The first thing you see is like, here's a show and here are the headshots of all the actors we announced. So it was the first discussion point. They knew that, we knew that, everybody knew that. And the sad reality is they used it as a diversity shield.
So now if they have to get
unfair to everybody involved. But.
So let's say they have this quota. Let's just say they have to make this quota. And would it have been, since it would have been such a diversion from the book, but it would have eventually come together, like if we spent a little time in a few more places getting to know the people from, you know, like the books, you start out with the two rivers and everything spreads from there. But let's say in the show, we jump over somewhere else and we see how they're living before all this shit happened. You know, so they can hit their quota, but keep everyone in their individual village homogenized.
If everybody was cast appropriately, and what I mean by that is either to like Robert Jordan, how he viewed what the characters looked like. He had famous actors, and it's a common thing in writing, right? You're writing your characters out. You do a character profile, you've got like a side sheet, and you say, okay, this character looks like Audrey Hepburn, and then every single time you describe her, like her cheekbones or her complexion. If they did that all true and faithfully, but still produced the plot that they fucking wrote, we would still be shitting on it because this is fucking AIDS
then you know
times
what?
cancer.
You just took you just took my next question. I was just kind of like, so for me, while I agree and definitely don't disagree with a lot of things you say, it's very hard for me, and you know, we're all sitting here as middle-aged white men, right? I don't know how you guys grew up. I can only speak for myself, but it's really hard for me to make that point as someone who hasn't stood in those shoes in a certain way. But while you say that, then it kind of just negates every single argument I might have had. It's like, look, if they would have casted everybody as perfectly as my headcanon, and that's my headcanon, not everybody else's headcanon, just saying my headcanon. If it would have been perfect in my mind, it still wouldn't have fucking mattered, because this show is not what I want. And that's, to me, people like, and you know, like you want to talk about the X, and I got to ask you before we go, just give me a little basis about the Reddit, because I don't know. But even all of that aside, if you have a problem with the show because of how it's written and the fact that it's not an app, then fuck everyone else. If they're saying you're racist, I think that's bullshit, because
it is.
It's hard. It's look at this way. It's hard to make that point.
Then.
And it's very hard to make that point to me as a white male, but the way you did it is very articulate and very backed up in fact, and I totally get that. It's still, for me, it's like, it makes me kind of wither inside if I would have to say that out loud. And I'm not a person that has a problem speaking my mind, but I am very careful about those things. But But then saying like, look, man, I don't care if they nailed my headcanon and didn't nail another person in the world's headcanon. I still wouldn't like the choices they're making for the show. It negates any argument I might have. And I have to agree with you. One of my biggest problems is the magic thing where they're just like, well, it'll be fine. We can just fix it with magic. No, it has to have some rules.
So I'm going to ask you a question, and I take it for what it's worth. Do you believe
6 inches into the left?
Wait, what?
Dead solid, perfect down the center. It ain't left or right, buddy.
Slight taper.
And it's six and a half.
The reason that you, at least the reason that I believe this happened, is that the same ideology that drives the racial quotas drives everything else that leads to the bad choices in this show. The same ideology that says we have to have, 53% main character minority actors also says you have to make women the main focus of the show. It says you can't have men dunking on women. It establishes all of these rules, and all of these rules are what causes the bad writing that is what kills this show. I mean, if you look at this, and if you watch the show in the comments, I mean, Rafe Judkins has flat out said he planned to update the gender themes of the series. The problem is the gender themes of the series is gender complementarianism, in that the genders are equal value. So if you plan
and the women, honestly, if you could say that the women, honestly, especially in the age that they're at in the books, would be probably the ones who hold a lot of the power.
So the biggest problem
is, do you think that from an ideology standpoint, the same ideology that causes the racial quotas also causes much of the rest of the problems with the series? And I guess I'll pose that to all three of you, if you wouldn't mind.
Jeremy, we haven't heard from you in a minute.
Man, I honestly, I haven't thought of that. I'd have to think about that for a while. I just think that the people that they have in charge have a different idea than what the books, and that's they want to bring that idea to life. What that's based around, I have no idea. I think it's based around.
I think
mainly Rafe Judkins.
I think we are very comfortable speculating based on his Twitter account and the fact that he is a gay man. What Judkins' politics are.
This is a point that I've asked before, but the biggest problem I find with the writing on this show is if all these writers got into a room and then someone said, all right, Rand can channel. He's a man that can channel, and it means he's going to go mad. And one of the writers would stick their hand up and he would say, well, what if he just identifies as a woman? Wouldn't that kind of protect him from going mad? And none of the other writers in the room would have a good argument as to refute that. That's the ideology that's at play here. Yes, this was written in the 90s, 2000, but that's the kind of world we're in right now. And this is the kind of audience that these idiots are trying to cater to. Gender essentialism, the main theme of the Wheel of Time, and Robert Jordan was hammering on this over and over again, that men and women are different. Men and women have to work together, and it's only when they work together that things go right. That's an overarching theme throughout all of this. And modern people in certain progressive circles cannot wrap their heads around this, and sadly those are the ones who are in charge of this whole thing. And that's why we're not seeing a gendered magic system in the entire first season. There are hints of it in the second season, but is it course correction or them just kind of slapping something over kind of the damage they've already done? But that seemed to be the fucking problem, being like, why would you have a dragon that could be both male and female? As was said earlier, like, well, that takes away the entire plot.
Yeah.
Well, the reason they thought they could do that is because, well, why couldn't the male dragon, if it was a male dragon, just identify as female and all of a sudden wield Sidar in these people's worldview?
Because it fundamentally undercuts the story, was what you're saying, and I totally understand that. And that's a whole nother can of worms. And that's what you're saying, because it's being made for mass media market, because it's being made for a mass audience that is
it's being made
maybe
by
not changed a lot.
Dan,
it's
let him
being
finish.
by gender ideologues. Sorry.
Yeah, and that, you know what, honestly, like, I get it, and it's all that is what I'm saying is, like, it's made for a different audience. But, you know, I will say this, you know, there were probably some people in the 90s maybe who read that thing, maybe who identified with some things or some themes that identify with them now. And if that brings more people into a story I love for whatever reason, I'm definitely okay with that. And as someone like, hey man, I'm letting you guys know, I'm in the Pacific Northwest. I worked in a very gay neighborhood for 15 years. I've seen every end of the spectrum as far as poor people, gay people, trans people. They're all just people, man. I don't really care about any of that stuff. The fact of the matter is that is a whole other thing. I get what you're saying. Mass media, these are the things that are presented because you have to cater to a large audience. But that is part of what they are trying to do to make it more palatable and bring people into the original story. While I don't love what they're putting out, I do understand where they're going, and I wish it could be better. But
that's where I think modern audience is a lot smaller than you think, and it, at the end of the day, it fundamentally undermines the world that was built, like all the mechanics around it. And at the time, this was deemed progressive, right? Because it gave kind of equal weight to male and female. And I think he would have
more weight to female, I think. But
yeah, yes, Robert Jordan would have been the last one to actually, like, either he would be completely baffled by our current world, or he would point to basically the drilling of the bore by Bideman and Mirren to try and tap an ungendered magic as kind of a prescient warning. You go down this route, you're basically going to unleash the Dark One.
I mean, so I guess we've seen, Justin, the numbers for this show. We've seen the numbers for Marvel since they've started taking the more progressive audience. We've seen the numbers for basically the entire box office. At some point, don't we have to say that the modern audience doesn't exist? That even that centrists are turned off by sort of the I'm going to use the phrase, and I know it bothers people, but I'm going to do it anyway. The woke ideology that is sort of undercutting a lot of this stuff.
Don't say woke.
Well, I think woke is actually the correct term, and I think the reason people hate
it is, but it's woke in a certain way, but that covers so many things that are negative and not actually correct, or maybe.
But I think it's the term that they would say in a large corporate office like Amazon.
Like anything, right? It's something you paint with a broad brush that doesn't work for everything. But sorry to interrupt. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Can I just one thing that I would say too is I loved Game of Thrones. I have no idea what those guys' politics were.
Isn't that dynamite? Isn't that exactly what you want?
Isn't that the point, right?
Isn't that the point?
And honestly, hey,
Justin, hold on. Hold on. Okay,
go.
So sorry. I don't care. I really don't care what anybody's politics are. If this show was good, I'd be like, sweet, it's a great show. But you tell me, guys, in the first 2 seasons, if you had a list of 5 things that you wanted to see from the books that you saw in your mind, you wanted to see on the screen, were any of them on there? Shadow Logoth was on there, but I don't think it was done the way that I would have wanted done. But I'll give him one. One.
You mean the Tar Valon set that they added a fucking dark filter onto?
Yeah, exactly. But of the 5, give just 5 things. I'm sure there's 50 that you could just name off the top of your head.
Well, I did like the Hopper thing, but now I hate it thanks to Dane. So
you're welcome.
You're
son of a bitch.
I think you touched on it.
We got the Dragon Mount volcano. Like, you have the best fucking prologue of any fantasy series ever written.
That was what I said. Yeah.
And you decide to basically, now let's put that, like,
let's chuck it.
Let's check.
Come on, let's be honest.
Oh.
Billy Zane ruined that shit.
Billy Zane doesn't ruin anything.
How
Only
dare
makes
you?
things better.
Hashtag
dare
Billy
you.
Zane as Asmodean.
The show will
Zane-
be saved if he's Asmodean.
No, here's
Asmodean
here's
isn't
the
going
sad
to be
thing
in
about
it.
Billy Zane.
Logain has replaced Asmodean.
This show is so fucking bad. I look back on the Billy Zane thing and be like, if only we had more of that. That's how bad this fucking show is.
If only we had more Billy Zane.
Yeah, nah.
All right,
Yeah.
I mean, like literally, if the Winter Dragon hadn't been made on a budget of 2 Camel menthol cigarettes, like, I mean, that was the problem with that, and that it was literally
there's
intended
It
to
was
steal
two-
the IP
two
from Harriet.
Camel cigarettes and an 8-ball of cocaine.
You know how hard it is to get
the
Camel menthols?
But Jeremy, the Winter Night part of Eye of the World, where Rand is hauling Tam through the woods, we got like a cheap treatment of that. It shown in a flashback, which established that Rand knew all along he was the dragon, but had to fuck Egwene in order to figure it out in a moment of post-nut clarity. That was absolute nonsense. But that chapter, right, where Rand is hauling Tam through the woods on the litter, that was harrowing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Do you know why it's harrowing? It's because his fucking helicopter got shot down in Vietnam, and he had to run 25 fucking miles back to the base. Like, that was a real thing that happened. I mean, Jesus! Like,
What the fuck are we talking about?
I mean, that's
We're talking about. We're talking
there's a
about
puppy.
scenes early on
That was my hopper. He's
in the
not
books that we wanted to see.
Oh, okay.
And instead,
And,
we got a grim, dark assault on the village that all happened off screen in the books. But it would have been better and scarier if all you saw was the attack on Tam and Rand's house by the Trollocs, and Rand had to basically rescue his father through the woods, and his father was having fever dreams.
There was one Trolloc at his house.
So have you guys, Dane and Alex, have you been reading these books since the 90s?
98 for me. So I was 16 when I picked it up. There were 8 books out. So I don't think I got it into it as early as Jeremy did or Justin.
But you finished it in real time, like you were itching for those last couple books to come out.
How old are you, Dane?
I'm 40, and I read the books. Probably I read through all 8 of them 3 times before Winter's Heart came out, and then it was reading them multiple times in between every book really since. And I think I've read at least the early books at least 30 plus times.
Alex?
The Eye of the World is actually older than me, so no, I did not.
Oh, that's miserable.
Read them as they came out.
So the whole series was out before you jumped on board?
Yes.
Okay.
Really?
So as someone
Lucky.
who hasn't, I haven't even finished the books yet. Like I said, I'm on book 4.
Where are you at, Dave?
I'm chapter halfway now. I haven't been able to make it to the gym. I work out. I have a gym 2 blocks from my house. I drive to the gym 10 miles away, so I have more time to listen to the books on the way to the gym.
Wait,
That's awesome.
why
That's
don't
dedication.
you listen to the books in the gym?
I don't like it.
Because he's only there for 6 minutes.
Well, yeah, and I if you listen to I engineer and edit 2 health and fitness podcasts, and their whole thing is how to be in shape without spending all day at the gym. So it takes me, I listen to more of the books driving to and from the gym than I ever would while I'm at the gym.
At 1.75 speed.
At 1.75 speed, yeah.
I edit 9.
Anyway, I everything you guys are saying, I totally get it, but not being just, not reading the books 30 times and just and playing them in my head and getting my head canon just right and knowing what I'd want to see if it ever came to light and knowing the world inside and out and how it quote unquote should be. There are worse shows out there. And this is someone.
They disagree, I think.
You're
going to get them started again.
I have watched them. Have you guys ever even heard of the show The 100?
The 100 was
Lost?
the 100
Have
is
you guys heard of
awesome
Lost?
compared to Wheel
Wait,
of Time.
but Desmond, what 90 million copies sold book series was The 100 based off of?
I have I know. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
You guys, he likes really
I
bad
know.
shit.
Clark's
just
signaling
I am
Julius
dying-
alone
Since I
is
was
enough
21,
to put the
he's liked
100
really
over.
bad stuff.
I'm not saying the 100's bad. I'm just saying the 100's terrible, and I couldn't fucking wait for every season to come out. Like I was super excited.
Oh, okay.
The episodes themselves were terrible. The overarching story was very interesting, and I loved the meta story, the macro story, the like I said, most episodes I walked away from just being like, Jesus, there's an hour gone.
Well, I'm going to
But
say-
anyway, I'm dying to. I keep on putting it out there, and this, you guys have a bigger audience than we do. I want somebody on my show who's only watched the show, who hasn't read the books, will never read the books, doesn't care that there ever were books, and is watching the show. I'm dying because I'm almost there, but between Justin and Jeremy and the fact that I'm working my way through the books in real time, I'm starting to slowly get turned to the dark side as well.
I know.
But I'm just here to
I
tell you
kinda
that,
am
like,
too, and I hate
when
it.
you
Wait,
have
us Whitecloaks would ask, you mean turn to the light?
there you go.
He's bathed in the light.
And you guys make great points top to bottom for people who have turned who have turned this into their Bible of fantasies. I mean, I don't know, maybe you guys read, maybe you've
Just
read,
Bible in general.
maybe you've
not
read
fantasy.
100 fantasy series 30 times. Maybe this isn't a big deal for you.
No, it's
Just
just
this one.
No,
it's a
we
decent
take it
library
seriously.
behind me.
But sorry, you're saying that you think there is an audience of show only people that really dig this.
I'm just trying to say that if you could even for a second imagine that you haven't read these books 30 times, which is what, 350 books. If you read the whole, if you haven't read 350,
No,
420, but
I should clarify. I've read the early books about 30 times.
right.
So-
Well, same here. I've seen like
dude, between
It's like I've seen Star Wars 100 times.
yeah.
I've seen Empire
have by
105
far-
times. I've seen Return of the Jedi 95 times. I've seen the prequels maybe 2 times, and I saw maybe half of the Disney Wars and said, "Nope, this fucking sucks."
Yeah, I know. I'm along with that too. Like I've seen the first season of Lost 15 times. I've seen the second season of Lost 10 times. I've seen the third season. I've seen the last season of Lost once.
don't like it. So hey, I gotta ask, don't like any of the prequels? Revenge of the Sith? Not even nothing?
No, they all sucked.
Oh, what about any of the new stuff?
It's on!
Ahsoka, anything?
I watched Kenobi.
there was
That was
no.
terrible. That was
But-
pretty bad.
Oh no!
That was real bad. I love Star
I got-
Wars, and that was
I got
bad.
to the last
Yeah,
episode
no,
and I
but
stopped watching.
The
it. I
only
couldn't finish it.
reason I saw Kenobi is because I thought Andor was fucking terrible, and people were like, "Well, Kenobi was worse." I'm like, "How could that be worse?" And then it was like, "All right, that was worse." But yeah,
Flea
it's
makes everything better.
Dude, there was this 9-book series. If they would have just made 3 movies out of that, it would have been amazing. It had Leia and Solo's twin, like the Solo's twins.
Oh, yeah,
fighting each
no,
other.
no.
No,
I don't know about the fighting stuff, but like, yeah, I read the expanded universe from 93 to like 90.
Did you read the Legacy of the Force ones where it
Awesome,
has
guys.
Jason Solo and Ben is his apprentice starting out, and he ends
So-
up like killing Mara?
Once Del Rey took over as publisher from Bantam Books, I kind of stopped. So there was an R.A. Salvatore book where Chewbacca died, and I was just like, I'm too old for this. And I
Okay,
think
yeah. So
I
hey,
was fucking-
there was this.
I was 16 at the time, and
Okay,
I
that
think-
was rough, bro. I cried for a day on that one for sure. I was like,
no, it was just like, but honestly, it was 99, and the Phantom Menace kind of killed it for me for Star Wars, because I was the biggest fucking Star Wars fan in my middle school and whatnot going on, and it was just like, this is gonna be so fucking awesome. Everyone's gonna go see it, and then it's just like the day after, and I just have to like look at everyone who was asking like, "Hey, who's Jar Jar Binks?" and I didn't want to fucking answer them at all, and it kind of
He's a
fell away
Sith
from
Lord,
there.
bro. Come on.
That fan theory only basically developed years after the fact and gained traction. I was not smart enough to come up with that on my own on the spot.
Jeremy, what did they call that?
What do they
Darth
call
Jar
what?
Jar?
No, retconning. Come
Oh,
on.
okay.
It's called
Sorry.
woke the woke retcon.
No,
Terrible at this, Jeremy. Suck.
I'm
Anyways.
sorry.
Suck. Suck.
I'm not on Twitter.
Anyways, my disinterest in Star Wars kind of coincided with the rise in my Wheel of Time reading. So that's my history.
I own
My-
I own every Fast and Furious movie, so
Dude.
I told you he likes terrible
where-
shit, right?
that's where
My
I'm
goal
at.
is to get him through.
All right.
the
But he
15
lives
book.
his life
Alex,
a quarter mile
Alex,
at a
you can
time.
mute him. You can mute him and kick him if you want.
The Fast and Furious through 7 was fucking excellent. And I will always say
Oh my
that,
God, no.
that Hollywood is a massive bunch of hypocrites, because if Hollywood loved diversity as much as they said they would never stop jerking off the Fast and the Furious. But they don't. So I know they're a bunch of liars.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's true.
They wouldn't stop jerking off Fast and Furious? When did they stop jerking off Fast and Furious?
If
No,
Hollywood,
it's the best line
I
in the
don't think
whole Barbie
Hollywood
movie,
would
dude.
stop jerking off.
Hollywood
period.
hates Fast and Furious. People
You
love
guys
Fast
don't do patriarchy anymore?
Why
No,
does
we do.
Hollywood hate Fast and Furious?
because they think it's beneath them. They think they're dumb action movies that aren't worthy of their time.
You mean the critics? The
yeah,
critics.
the critics,
Oh.
the Hollywood
Critics.
industrial complex in general.
Yeah.
It
no,
puts a lot of money in Hollywood, though. They
Oh.
really like those.
Oh,
movies.
isn't
That's
that
what it's really
isn't that the
about.
funniest part of modern Hollywood is they hate the projects that make them money. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Transformers.
And Marvel.
they hated Marvel so much they destroyed it. They decided they would
Tune
rather
into our
lose
podcast,
money
The Movies
than
Are
Marvel.
Us, and when we talk about Transformers next week, Des.
There you go. Free plug. That's just for you. Check out our new podcast coming next month. Movies Are Us.
What is the line that
winking.
Hollywood peaked the moment that Optimus Prime did his monologue to Linkin Park at the end of Transformers 1?
Hollywood.
I remember. So I went
That's a
to
whole movie right there.
I went to sound school a couple years ago. I'm 47, but I graduated 5 years ago. That's another story. But I remember, there was some big, there was, a lot of idealistic kids, at this college, and 19, 20-year-olds. And there's like, hey, Des, would you ever work on a Michael Bay movie? I was like, yeah. And they're like, what? You'd sell out for a Michael Bay movie? I said, yeah, I'd go make $2 million working with the best people in the business, and then I would go make whatever jerk-off flick I wanted to with the money they threw at me. Like, who would pass that up, you idiot? And all these 19-year-olds like, oh, that's a good idea. Actually, I should take their money to work on my project.
Right?
Fuck all that.
anyway.
Fucking The Island was great. I loved it.
Hell, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was watchable. Like,
Oh,
Was it? Wait. Alex,
good.
I know we're of a different age, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to me is the movie I went to my 6th birthday on in 1989.
yep.
Wait, what? You weren't born
Yeah.
yet, though.
No, I was not. No, I meant his live action one where they routinely mock Stephen Amell for not being able to do a proper bench press. But anyway, to get back on topic, you were saying if you remove the sort of the book lore from the equation, and we look at the TV show.
Oh, that's right. That's what we were talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about Wheel of
What do
Time.
we do? A Wheel of Time, right?
That's right.
Time travel. Wheel of Time travel.
But would we still have problems with the show? And for me, I can't speak for others, but the answer is for me is yes. I mean, I think the action scenes are horrific. I think the villains, and I'm so confused by this. People keep saying that the villains are great in season 2. I'm so lost because both villains blew up their own plan. Like, Moraine gave Bail Doman the Quendiar, who Bail Doman gave to Moraine, so Moraine knew to go stab Lanfear. So we created this, like, if Lanfear had just not given Bail Doman the Quendiar.
Wait, how did that make her? Wait, how did that make her know that she could stab Lanfear?
So
So-
Lanfear gave Bael Doman the Quendiar in the note.
Just because of the poem, or
Yeah. So if Moraine had never been given the poem, Moraine wouldn't have known that Lanfear was out. So she wouldn't have gone to get Rand. So she wouldn't have found Rand balls deep in Moraine to stab her in the chest. Like,
she would
And
just been
slit her
like,
throat.
"Oh, who's this bitch? Rand is fucking stab." Yeah. Okay.
or
It's the-
no,
it's the
No,
Raiders-
she wouldn't have gone to get him at all. Like,
Yeah,
Rand should
ultimate
literally
cockblock.
She would
Lanfear
have
would've-
kept hauling
Yeah, she
water
would've just
to
been
her
sad.
bathtub.
forever.
Well, I mean, who doesn't love a good bath? Come on.
I mean, actually, I did the
I
math
know,
on
I'm
this.
just kidding.
Yeah. There you go.
Thank
Yes,
you.
that is
Thank you, Desmond.
that is the
What the fuck is
decision-making
that?
cycle.
That's my whiteboard.
It's a flow diagram.
That's how I
It's
do
a
my
wheel of
time.
Moraine.
That's when I do my timelines when I'm talking
It's
time
a, it's, a,
travel.
it's a PlayStation flow diagram.
Yeah. ABXY on the Xbox.
What I love
Oh.
too is that Moraine had to murder that horse instead of just,
Jeremy,
patting it on the
this is
butt
the point.
and getting it out of the stall.
Well, I mean,
This is
Jeremy,
the point
I-
of contention with me and Des. He's always making me watch shit where horses and animals die, and then my wife doesn't want to watch it with me.
Jeremy, I'm
And then
about
I'm
to blow
alone
your
a lot.
fucking mind.
What's
I'm going to
up?
blow your mind here. So, the poem that that clued Moraine, as I like to call her, at least for the show, moron, onto this whole plot. It was written in the Old Tongue, and do you know what it said?
What did
At
it
least
say?
the first line, you know it, right? Because it's parroted right from
Blood-
the Dragon
blood
Reborn.
calls
right?
blood.
Moraine
calls
doesn't know
blood,
how
blood.
to read the Old Tongue is the first line. Oh,
No, it's the daughter of night. She walks again. Now in the books, this was written in Trolloc script, right? So Varen had written it down and translated it. But in the show, it's in the Old Tongue. So Moraine gets an Old Tongue poem that says, "The daughter of night,
That
she
Lan's
walks
horse.
again."
Yeah.
Lan finds the poem, and Lan steals the poem, and Lan goes off kind of on his bitch boy vacation to be Alana's third dick in some type of airtight arrangement, which was hinted at quite overtly by the show. But at the end of said episode, although the airtighting was off screen, Maxim, who
Did you say
withdrew-
airtighting was off screen? Sorry, I was spacing out for a second. Did you
Yeah.
say airtighting?
Alana was.
Let's keep it on
obviously
track.
getting-
Hold on. Let's keep it on track.
Atlanta
Blow
was
my
getting
mind.
deep-
Sorry.
d-
Well done.
DP'd
Say
by
it.
her warders. But anyways, we don't know if Lan actually plugged his dick in her mouth or not, but that was probably forthcoming. But anyways,
That wasn't the open hole.
no.
Tune into our Patreon to hear a story about airtight with yours truly next week.
Anyways,
Sorry.
Maxim leaves the yoga retreat in his flip flops and shows Alana this poem, right?
Right.
And says, and Alana reads it, and she's like, "The daughter of night, she walks again." And Maxim says, "Lanfear. Lan must not know who this is about." Dun dun dun. Do you know how you say "daughter of night" in the Old Tongue?
No.
Lanfear.
No. Yeah. That's true.
What Dan
So
is trying to get at here is that
So it's redundant.
Lanfear,
basically.
Lanfear.
no, it's
let-
even
let-
worse. Lan
Lan cannot read. That's the only explanation as to how he got an Old Tongue poem. And the first words are "the daughter of night," and he doesn't know that it applies to Lanfear. The only way is he's illiterate. But in season 1, we had that, like, he speaks the Old Tongue and he basically translates some shit for fucking Nynaeve. So that's like semi. It's out there, but holy fucking shit! Like, you
Have
know
you
how I
ever lost
clued
a
into
friend?
this? I've lost many friends.
Lan-
Hold on.
Lan-
Steppen died, bro. He couldn't concentrate. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Steppen died. Yes, Steppen did die. You guys were talking about the horse.
I'm
though.
sorry, Dane. Let Dane go. I'm sorry.
No, that was the end.
That was
sorry.
my whole
The-
point.
okay.
Is basically, but other than that, the way that I clued into this is because the show recited the poem in the old tongue at the start of the episode, and there was like a voiceover going on at the same time that Maxim was reading this shit, and I heard Ishamael whisper Lanfear. And it's just like, you have to be so not aware of what you're writing in order to write something this stupid, but at the same time, it was still in the show.
Yeah, I can see why I missed it, but if I'm writing it, I should probably catch that. And plus, if somebody else is going to be proofreading everything that I'm doing.
Or you have a
Jeremy
lore
gave,
expert.
Jeremy gave up on the show as soon as Shail was unveiled. He was like, "That's it."
Oh my god!
Your issue.
Oh, Dane! Oh no, Dane! Dane, no.
Your issue was the not being veiled, and not that she murked 9 dudes with Rand's head sticking out of her cooch. Like,
and that Rand got his fucking spine severed when she got stabbed
in the uterus.
Bro,
Well,
it was foreshadowing for the future wound, but it still makes no sense.
Yeah.
Trust me, I told you, I'm a show apologist. I will reach like a dying man for water to try to make the show make sense and be good.
So can we talk
That's
about
why
the
I wanted to
horses
talk
then?
to you guys.
What
Yes,
is
let's
your
talk about the horses.
Shut up, Jeremy.
before we get to the
Sorry,
horses,
Desmond, go ahead.
what is driving you? What is going to drive you to even watch season 3?
Oh, pure
make fun
masochistic
of it.
hatred.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
and-
would you guys want it to end, or do you guys want it to keep going? So
Oh,
you can fucking
we
roast
want
it?
it to end.
I want it to
Okay.
end, but so the debate that we're having, honestly, in our side of said fandom is whether or not this is incompetence or malice. That's really the only debate that we kind of have. And the thing is, these people are so fucking retarded. It could be
Whoa, the R
incompetence.
word. Ruh-roh.
No.
Could you blame any? And I realize that they should have there's ways to right these wrongs, but could you blame any of it on filming around COVID?
None.
None. Okay.
I try to blame tons of it around
So-
and losing a main character and the writer's strike, and I just say it'll get better through season 3.
It's not going to get any better. Like it. If anything, the writer's strike could probably improve the show because they wouldn't be writing it.
Because they're gonna get paid. They're gonna get paid now.
No, it's more like, well, we got to do a rewrite for this scene. What the fuck do we do? It's like, well, what does the book do in this scene? And maybe they'd finally use the book.
That's funny that you would think they'd have a book with them. There's no books.
Right. Yeah. There's
They have no books.
So like when it comes to COVID, there are a ton of other shows that came out that were filming during that same period that were fine, that didn't show nearly the strain on it. And, if people say, the reason that the show is bad is because of COVID or because of Matt's actor leaving or because of the writer's strike or any other number of excuses, well, any idiot can run something when everything is on the tracks and going smoothly. It takes talent to be able to audible and adjust and make things work when things are difficult. So, the inability to make any adjustments to make things work, especially when the entire rest of the industry is facing the same problems and making it work too. For me, it's not an excuse. And if that's the argument we're making, then the conversation needs to become, well, then clearly we have the wrong guy in charge.
Yeah, you have to think back to, there's been plenty of movies or TV shows that had very difficult time shooting. Think about Jaws or even the aforementioned Lost. We crap on Lost because of where it went to, but that first season, people were invested and they did a pretty decent job with the first couple episodes. I think they fired the first director because it went so far over budget, but
dude, Jaws is freaking that is a clutch reference because Jaws had exactly the kind of technical problems that you're talking about, right? Like Spielberg wanted to make a kind of horror or like a creature feature, right? And as a result of the shark constantly falling apart in salt water and doing what he had to come up with all these different ways of presenting the shark, from the barrels because it got shot into, and just the music of it, and it made the movie so much better. Like,
Yeah.
if Spielberg had a functioning fucking shark from day one of Jaws, the movie would have sucked, and we wouldn't be talking about it anymore. But anyways,
Yeah.
Good night, Butterfly.
My goal or my hope is after 3 seasons, they just put a bullet in its head, and then maybe someday, we get a Peter Jackson or a Denis Villeneuve that goes, I love this. I want somebody to put a bunch of money into this, and it's gonna be my passion project.
That's kind of when we started our rewatch. Like, that's our objective. Like, we want to basically ridicule the show into oblivion, such that Alex and Pips and I can acquire the rights for $3.50, and then we'll take it over. Like, we've got ideas about how to do it. I think 99% of them are animated. But getting back to like the COVID stuff, do you know what show was released within 2 weeks of Wheel of Prime, or 3 weeks? Fucking Arcane.
Well, that's animated. That's.
I know, but still, around the same time, it might not have had the same kind of production issues or whatnot. But like that's how they, honestly, that's how they should have done Wheel of Prime. Like, just like do it. Like, people are saying that from the outset. Like, just look at the timeline of the books and how it all gets compressed. If you have 15 books worth of material and you think you're going to do a season a book, there's no way that you have characters that are 22, 23 when they end, like that age. Like, it's not possible. So to me, it needed to be animated from the outset if you're going to do an adaptation. But I'm at the same time, I'm happy buying the rights for $3.50 and then never adapting anything ever, because fuck all y'all. Read the books. Like, if you need a TV show, like, you're missing the point.
Dude.
Right.
My favorite books are movies. So
That's
I don't agree with that.
Wait. What?
he means he enjoys watching movies that are from books.
Yeah. Or I just enjoy movies. That's why I have 3 podcasts about movies and 1 dumb show about a book series.
That's why he's so mad at me that I tricked him into this, because he has to fucking listen to books. And my whole goal is to get him through 15 books, just because I want. So Desmond,
hold on, real quick.
No,
hold on.
Okay.
No, because I'm following on what he said, and then we can go on you. I just want to curtail my concern. And again, it sounds like you'd be fine with no show ever, so this isn't going to have any weight to it. But my concern is, if this show shits the bed after 3 seasons, this whole idea is going to go into movie jail for 50 years, and we'll never see it. I think we have a better chance of this getting rebooted in 20 years if they finish this one than we would of them saying, well, that, because if it shits the bed, they're going to just, everyone, again, Hollywood, the $1 million complex that is Hollywood. I know you don't care, Dave.
I'll take
There's
it.
movies that are already on the horizon, are they not?
I'll shut up.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, like, and I get it. If you don't want this to ever be made into a show, then I can't fix that. But if the $1 billion complex known as Hollywood, if this shits the bed after 3 seasons, then they're going to put this in jail, because they're going to say it didn't make money, and they're not going to think about the fact that, like, oh, it didn't make money because it was shit. So if we did it right, it would make money.
So here's the counterpoint that I'm going to offer to this. At the time before Game of Thrones was released, Wheel of Time was the 2nd best-selling fantasy series of all time, only behind The Lord of the Rings. So as of now, the 4 best-selling fantasy series ever are Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, and Wheel of Time. Are you telling me that with the other 3 being the money-making behemoths and giant, I mean, literally theme park building franchises that those 3 are, that we're not going to get that nobody in Hollywood is going to give the number 4 series a shot. I find that to be absurd and laughable. I mean, we're talking about a series that have, what is it, 60 Emmys, 15 Oscars. I mean, there is no reason that Wheel of Time should sit at the kid table. And I think the Wheel of Time fandom has serious fat girl syndrome when it comes to their expectations for for its attention being so low.
But if HBO shits the bed with Game of Thrones, do you think Amazon Prime would have picked it up by now and tried to do it right?
I don't think so, but I think so long.
So that's what I'm saying. If Wheel of Time shits the bed, who's going to pick it up in 2 years and try it again?
I think you'd have a litany of contenders from studios that may not even be American. I would love to see a Japanese.
CW?
No. I'd get the animation studio that did Arcane.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any reason to think that Wheel of Time is going to be forever sitting on the bench. The biggest problem that Wheel of Time has of now is that stupid, godforsaken Iwat Red Eagle company still has their hand fucking up the rights acquisitions. So they basically only end up going to shit companies. But to answer your question, no, I don't think that, seeing as every single one of the top 30 fucking fantasy series has now been adapted into a show, that Hollywood is going to let the number 4 sit on the bench and rot.
Cool. Well, if that's the case, I hope you're right, but Hollywood is also fickle, and sometimes they get the wrong ideas of why things fail.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything gets remade, and it's usually, sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse, but properties always get revisited, right? So,
but in
honestly,
but you've got a better chance of a successful series getting rebooted than you do of a tanked series getting a second try.
It's something that I don't think we've
call it
ever
tank.
really
You get
seen.
3 seasons,
Desmond, right? Like we haven't really seen something that's come on and then tanked and then been remade. But as Alex was saying, it's of the top 4, it's number 2. I think there's money to be made, but if you think
video
about
games,
I already played the first one, so. But if you think about those,
and it shit the bed, and they never made another one.
Man, if they made a Diablo-style video game that was Wheel of Time based, that would be the shit.
Great.
So ironically, there is one, but it's from like 1997 or 99.
99.
And I know. It's still playable.
It's a decent game. It's a decent game. I've watched some gameplay. It's decent, and the story's okay too. But
yeah, I played it back then.
Isn't there
God dang it, Justin.
Jeremy,
hold on.
Fuck off! I didn't talk for like 10 minutes. You know how hard that is.
Justin, I've been trying to just get one thing out. Just one thing. That's it. Just let me get this out. You can talk for the rest of the time. Okay.
Jeremy, I got a
of
point.
The 4 that you were talking about, right?
Yep.
3 have very good and very loyal book. They're very loyal to the book. Harry Potter, very loyal to the books.
Yep.
The first Lord of the Rings, very loyal to the books, right? And also, what was the third one?
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Very
up
loyal
until
to the
they
books.
ran out of book material.
Up until they ran out of the books.
It's fuck Jar Jar Martin, man. Write the last book, you prick.
So, I would think that they should learn their lesson.
Let's
stay loyal to the books.
Let's
stay
take
loyal
it
to the books. Use your built-in audience. Sorry, I will stop talking. I'm on.
Yeah, but this is the beauty of it. Is if someone basically picks up the IP and wants to do it again, and Desmond, to your point, like if it's a failure, won't that hamper it? It's like no, it's a failure because it didn't stick to the books. Right? They basically shat on the books. They basically subverted the books.
That's absolutely the reason why. 1,000%.
They did everything they could to basically subvert the message and destroy kind of what we all liked about it, and sit back for a couple of years, let it digest. It's not going to take 50. It's going to take 5 or something like that, and someone's going to come across and basically be like, "This is a great IP. The problem with the first attempt at it was they deliberately shit on it. And guess what? If we just do it right, if we just adhere to the author's vision, we can probably make something of this. That being said, I don't trust anyone outside of maybe 5 people that I've met in this whole Whitecloaks community. Of
Jeremy and I could write
that.
it really good. Hero wrote the Shail scene. Chef's kiss. Perfect.
Yeah, I don't want that scene because it's not in the fucking books. Like that's how much of a purist I am. Like I don't need that shit. Like,
well, now my heart's broken. Thanks, Dane.
I would take
I'm
it.
sorry. I wouldn't. Like it maybe it comes up a little bit later, but it'd be like a flashback in book 4 or whatnot. But like it's all been plotted out. This is not Rings of Power where you basically have 50 pages of appendices and go write a story from it. This is like scene by scene, plotted out, narrated. You have all the dialogue, and that you basically took all this brilliant stuff, threw it in the trash, tried to insert your own shit to it.
Well,
This makes me upset more than you guys know.
You know what?
And especially the
apologist,
sick
but-
sex and disgusting shit they're fucking putting in with the like DP and airtight shit. I really loathe a lot of the people
Whoa,
involved in
let's
this
not
production.
judge about.
How
DPs
about
and
how
their
about choke
There's a
fucking?
place and
You
time for everything.
oh yes.
No,
there's
no.
several
Like a good-
instances.
but-
like a good choke
But
fuck.
50 Shades of Grey was super duper.
Well, I mean, I
Dude,
think there's an argument in Jeremy's
go
defense.
nuts on your own
Favorite
shit.
movie.
But Egwene going in to like talk about getting groomed to get her asshole penetrated in fucking season 2.
Yeah, I had to
No.
laugh at that, but as someone who has daughters, I was like, oh.
No one needs this. If you
No.
have daughters, you're like, you're not going to the White Tower. I don't care how fucking much you can
You're
channel the
going
one
anywhere,
power.
but
I'm gonna send you to the fucking Aiel. They'll spank you, but at least they won't.
they'll teach
Shove
you how
a
to be
dick up your
responsible
ass.
with that power. God damn it. You'll go in a sweat tent, things will happen.
Yep.
You might end up with 3
What?
husbands, but not at the same time.
But they'll be in charge of the relationship. So who cares? That's what you want for your daughter, right?
Wait. No, they wouldn't. Like, I think the Aiel marriages were one. Okay, my bad. She might end up with
Aiel-
sister wives.
That's what I'm saying. But they still like they still control the man.
Yep.
Do they not?
Yeah, except like men didn't like a wife didn't have many husbands. There was like many wives per husband. So, anyways,
He was just like, a tool though. It was just like he was like, I don't know.
So
I
should
always
we-
felt like do you not feel like the women had the power in that sense, even though they were kind of sharing him? They were just
they were always in charge. But
That's
that
what
was
I
the
feel
beauty
like, right?
of Wheel of Time is basically the women felt like they were in charge all the time, and the men felt like they were in charge all the time. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Like
True
Matt
to
always
life.
said, Rand would know how to talk to these girls.
Right? Rand would be able to pull this off. Parent thought. To
Rand would
himself.
be able to do this.
Yes.
Rand would be able to do
Or
this.
Matt would, and then Matt also. Yeah, exactly.
So is there
Um,
any one thing that either one of you like about the Wheel of Time where we're like, oh man, like even 30 seconds, like that was dope.
Of the show,
Yeah.
outside of Elaine's tits, no.
Did we see her boobs?
No,
No, you didn't
he's
see
talking
it,
about
but-
them
but-
covered up.
Oh, okay.
But even then, that's a quality tier bosom. And like I was saying earlier on, like I can't wait for the oval cutout dress if it ever comes. But that's basically it.
So you're basing that on like her descriptions in the book, right? Like
Her casting.
No,
pictures, I think.
I think,
Or you just like Sierra Coveney?
And what's odd enough is there's actually a character.
Dane's like, that was the
called
one casting that was right.
Yeah,
No,
we're
no,
kind of
we-
close. But there's a Sarah Coveney who's actually a character in book 4. She gets murdered. It's great.
Who gets murdered? Wait, what?
There's
So
an Aes Sedai, or I think it's an Aes Sedai named.
No, it's
Coveney.
It's a novice who overhears Min when she arrives in Tar-Valon in book 4, and she gets sent to a farm by Swan Sanche.
Oh, right.
Because she kind of like she knows Min knows Gowan.
She ends up getting murdered, correct?
Yeah. But she's got a remarkably similar name to the actress. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Although
okay, gotcha.
what I'm saying here is what I like is bosom, but
so you're a boob guy.
no, I'm actually not. I'm actually more of an ass man, but
Good night.
she's got a good set.
Bye, Des.
Desmond, I responded in the private chat. Thanks for coming out. Really do appreciate it.
You guys have fun. I can't wait to hear what you guys get into after I leave.
Oh, I think this is not going to last that much longer because
I think we're about done, man. I got to go to work in the morning, so I know I only sell drugs for a living, but I still got to go to bed.
But it's still hard, dang it.
It's really hard.
Do you mind answering the question for Trip?
The question of non-Whitecloaks: is there one character in the show that is truly recognizable to the character in the books?
I mean, I'd say Bail Doman, but that's just like, but that's a 3-booker, right there. So I can't, I mean,
the horse.
Hips.
Yeah,
Oh,
the horse that Lanfear kills or that Moraine kills.
Hopper.
Hopper's pretty close to the books.
No, he's
not. Hopper's not even the right species.
Hopper's a fucking dog.
What did you expect? Did you really expect them to go get a timber wolf that was trained? I mean, like I like you guys, but come on, dude.
I would have expected.
We're gonna get a
big dog.
Or did you just want them to like CG it like completely?
What?
Anakin Skywalker looked exactly the way I pictured him in episode 4.
They did wolves
totally
right,
wizard.
In Game of Thrones, they had the dire wolves, right?
But were those
they were only dogs?
Were they real animals?
I think they were. Yeah, they were just like probably like a hybrid.
A mix of both, right? But like it could have been done.
To answer the question, I don't think there's anybody.
Yeah, trust me, man, I'm searching hard in my head. Like
maybe Egwene, maybe she's probably the closest. But even then, or Nynaeve. But even then,
I'd have to say those.
Nynaeve's an idiot. She's an idiot in the show.
Nynaeve
the fairy guy, the fairy guy. He was dead on. Same.
No, he wasn't.
Master Hightower.
My son. I'm gonna dive into the water and kill myself.
I don't remember Master Hightower
committing everything. You're just like Jeremy.
No, the Master Hightower scene was one of the worst ones from season 1. Made no sense.
Can't all be the worst one.
Uno?
No.
Like,
do you guys hate Uno too? Guy Roberts is my friend. Not really.
Okay, but
it died how he lived, sucking dick.
Yes. As far as the wolf question goes, you know what I would have liked to have seen the wolves do? I would have loved to have seen the wolves from Twilight. Like just the big ass, like
okay.
Like the ones that are basically like half bear. Like let's run those.
Yeah, they're
guys.
huge. They're fucking huge. Okay. I mean, so you just would have went like CGI budget. Fuck it. Like just do it. Like fully like lean into it.
Yeah.
Well, but it gets to the wider point about if you wanted to adapt this into a visual medium, you'd have to go animated because you look at the 15 books or whatever that you have to run through or can draw source material from. The first 2 books kind of go over a year or whatnot. But I mean, from book 3 to the end, it's 18 months.
Yeah.
But the whole series is only like 3.5 years, right?
Exactly. But the majority of that is within the final 13 books. These characters will age if it's done live action.
I agree with you. Like, I think it could have been much, like, if you would have done it in a like an AI or animated form, like almost what's the manga like style, like very graphic novelty, it would have been.
But there are a multitude of animation styles that you could have done, and that the one that I think, and this is just a pure personal choice, what I think would fit Robert Jordan's literary style is one that's very detailed and descriptive on the background. So I'm thinking more kind of like a classic 90s Disney animation, where it's basically a watercolor painting background and animation in the foreground, because he'll set the scene for you, and then you just do a long shot scene kind of set in that mode. That's all a personal view on it.
Maybe like not too different from like the Origins, like kind of similar to the Origins, like a little bit more clear in the like foreground stuff, but like
looked
the background
a little bit
stuff.
more. I saw some of the Origin stuff. It was very computerized and grimdark, but I get where you're going with this, but it's more the animation style personal stays. I think animation would have been the best way to do this. And that said, with the whole series, I acknowledge there would be problems adapting it word for word, scene for scene to a visual medium.
Of course. I mean, like it's something that's only really getting to a place where we can do those kind of things on screen in 2024. Like, but you wouldn't have been able to adapt this in 2005.
But more than that is and this is a deficiency of fantasy series in general. There are developmental edit problems with a lot of fantasy series, and that's largely a feature of them being so serial, in that an author will get his book published, or the first couple of books published, without having the ending in mind. And then once he's built up something, he's got every incentive in the world to kind of milk said story. And every fan of the books has kind of noticed that the Wheel of Time slows down from a pacing point of view right around book 6, book 7.
Yeah, the slog, if you will.
Which is an unfair term if you didn't have to wait 2 years for the next book to come out.
That's true, because there's so many important things. Like, even though those books were a little slower than the like first 1 through 5, and then what I'd say 9.
Yeah, but I don't like new readers say you're using that term, and largely because if you didn't like it, well, just get through it, and in a week you can get on to the next book. Whereas it was a lot different for us.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a whole different. That's a whole different.
I'm just going to say what we're all thinking. I'm going to say what we're all thinking. Matt and Trey, we want to see your version of the Wheel of Time. South Park animation.
South Park Will. No,
that's what we want to see. Come on, we're all thinking it. That's what we're all thinking.
I was going to say.
So I guess I'll end with this. Is basically that the animation could work. There's things to be abridged in the series, but they happen later on. So if you're going to do an adaptation, bring it down to like 10 or 8 seasons. You don't cut shit from the early books. You cut shit from Elaine
9.
Yeah, exactly. It's Elaine and her quest for the Lion Throne, and her going through all the different Turang Brial that she's collected from Ebudar. Like, you don't need that. You don't need the sea folk
1000%
chapters.
Unnecessary.
Like those kinds of things. I understand why Robert Jordan wrote them. I still appreciate them kind of later. But as I was reading them, it was just like, dude, you were just milking this for all the New York Times #1 bestseller that you can get.
And for a screening adaptation, completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
And you know what? I feel like
how it ended up, right? Because those are storylines that didn't really complete to anything. So
I feel especially like what 9 through like 11, like 9, 10, and 11, maybe even going back to 7 or 8, there are things where he starts to describe the tapestries and what people are wearing, and you can really feel like he's feeling his mortality in the way he's writing. Like, he's starting to appreciate the little things and the beauty of the world, and that's great. But for those books, Jesus, it makes them long.
Well, 11
like you said, if it wasn't I know 11, 12, 13, 14, I'm all about it, dude. But
Jack R, thanks for coming. Thanks for sticking around the entire time, man. Really appreciate it. I guess what anything you want to ask us? I know we're somewhat of the villain of the fan base, if you will. Kitty, thanks for joining us. I think we're getting close to the end, but in Dubai, I think you're in, so that's it's always appreciated. I got to check out the Weird Wednesday stream from today.
Yeah, I gotta cut out, but I just want to say thanks for having us. It's been a pleasure. It's been real fun. Yeah, we'd like to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys have you guys come from a different perspectives than we do, and it's kind of fun to just talk about things. I know that you guys think about things. I think that between you and Dane, I think you've thought about this way more than me. I'm just like, I don't like it. It's not good.
Well,
you're like, no. There's a reason it's not good. Dang it.
Me and Jeremy are country folk.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think either Dane or I are necessarily from the big city, but he's Canadian, so maybe that helps.
Oh, I don't think it helps anything.
He's very critical for a
Dane.
Canadian. Wow.
Wait, what?
Oh, he's back. Stop talking about it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. You guys have a good night.
My
Jeremy, I'll
city
see
has
you
over
later.
1 million people.
Jeremy, thanks for coming on as always.
See you later, cuz.
All right. Finally, we get to like
Bang
beat on
questions
Justin?
Yeah, dude, beat on me, man. Like, I'm having a good time. Like, my biggest question for you guys is I'm drunk now. Shit. Obviously, your main gripe, your main gripes have already been like kind of like, thrown at me. You guys are definitely, I was a little scared coming in. I'm not lying. Like, I didn't know anything about you guys, like, at all. And I was like, oh, geez, the Whitecloaks. And then I asked Better, and he was like, no, they're good dudes. Just, like, they have their own opinions, but like, stick to the tribe. Like, you guys are good, man. Like, I like you guys. Like, you guys have a cool, different opinion. And like, I am definitely a show apologist. I love things that I love, and I'm a big fat child. I'm 45 years old, and I sell weed for a living. So there's things that, like, you got to take the joy where you can get it. And while I wish there were things that were much better about the show, like, I still am just really happy it's getting made. But I also, like, legit understand every gripe you guys have.
Yeah. I mean, that's something we've always kind of, I mean, if somebody comes in our Discord and says they enjoy the show, our response is not get the fuck out, you're banned. I mean, between the Reddit and the Discord, I think we've banned 2 people. One was a straight up third right guy. And the other was, I think, trying to sell OnlyFans subs. So, like, we are very much a.
Wait, is that what he got banned for? Because those are some good subs.
Right.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not saying he didn't get his
kidding.
mileage out of us. I'm just saying that. So I mean, I think a lot of it is, we just we let anybody say anything, and I mean,
before Trip says something in the comments, who needs OnlyFans with her? Like, anyway.
Yep.
But I mean, like, obviously you guys have been on the X and Twitter. Fuck, I won't call it X. Fuck that. But you guys, like, the people who like the show can be quite militant, obviously. So I gotta ask, like, what happened? Like the subreddit thing. Like I said, I talked to the editor because I literally was like, yeah, I'll come on. And then the editor was like, I was like, hey, do you know anything about these guys? And he's like, well, they're gonna have a different opinion than you, so get ready.
So the key thing to note is that me, Alex, Pips, as Whitecloak, we were frequent users of the subreddit. I only became a moderator of the subreddit in like the final days of it. But it was a kind of an open forum or unmoderated sub to a large point. So if you understand how Reddit works, like, posts would get upvoted, downvoted, and that kind of provides kind of a self-censorship mode. Like, I did plenty of posts that got upvoted. I got plenty of posts that got down-duded to fucking nothing. But the 3 of us, we were frequent users, but we weren't like the be-all and end-all. Like, I know the folks who started it up, but they're not as active as as some of us were, and none of this was, kind of from the white supremacist or racist stuff that got kind of us labeled at. It was just basically like people concerned at the outset that this was not going to be Robert Jordan's vision. This was going to be some type of woke Hollywood vision. You could see it with the casting, but the implications of taking it from there and being like, well, how do we think they're going to treat a gendered magic system? And yeah, it kind of blew up.
I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, in a world where gender lines are definitely blurred, you have a very gender specific magic system. So how are you going to adapt that? Right.
And we were worried that wasn't going to be done faithfully to the books, and it wasn't. If anything,
I would agree. It was not done faithfully.
But that undermines the story. That undermines many of the central themes of the Wheel of Time. It undermines many of the character arcs. It undermines many of the characters. That the Dragon Reborn could be a woman, and that people are actively kind of believing this, and like.
It definitely shoots holes in a lot of the themes, for sure. I agree.
Unbelievably so. And as the fan base, as the people who had read the books 30 times or a dozen times or even twice and whatnot, if you're
Probably
counting on us
30 times at least.
Yeah, no. So you and I we're in the same kind of boat on that, but it's just like, why would you do this? Like you're counting on these types of fans to kind of be your main advocates, and it went beyond that. It was just scene after scene. The Master Hightower scene, I think, was one of the most offensive on the first night for me.
Really?
It was just like, yeah, because
why so? Just curious.
Why did he want to jump into the river to like swim to the other side to like warn his son about Troll? So in the books, the Trollocs never showed up at Terran Fair, right?
She just sinks the ferry, right?
She just sinks the ferry. No one dives into the water,
and he's not on it, right?
Yeah, no one has to die. But so it's doubly stupid. Like if there were no Trollocs and the ferry starts sinking in a whirlpool and he dives after his property, you would kind of get it, right? That would make more sense. What makes less sense is what they did in the show is that he dives into the river to save his raft when there are monsters on the other side.
Because one person can save a 2-ton raft made out of wood.
And what would you do if you did? Would you ferry your raft to the other side to where all the Trollocs and the Murdrell are?
Or the people who just tried to murder you?
Or yes. To save your son, who would be so fucking stupid as to walk up and be like, hey, Trollocs, what's going on here? Oh, my dad's on it.
Yeah.
Like, none of that made any sense. And then there's the wider issue about Moraine.
Did Moraine commit murder?
Did she murder? Did she kill him by doing that? Because she could have.
Could she have saved him by pulling him out?
She could have saved him.
But do you think that is like something for the visual medium, and this is TV, and people who haven't read the books, and we really need to drive home the fact that let me finish.
Let him finish.
Just to drive home the fact that the Aes Sedai, creed is very much like Obi-Wan says, it's from a certain point of view.
So I think if that was what they were going for, then it was a catastrophic failure. Because
that's fair to say.
You judge characters not only based on what they do, but what they don't do. And Moraine in that moment was capable of saving Hightower.
Yeah, he didn't have to die.
Yes, and she chose not to save him, which makes Moraine a terrible person. And
also not a true Aes Sedai.
Yeah, and she's been a terrible person fairly consistently throughout the show. I mean, she just has been, and some of it has been on purpose, and some of it has been accidental. Like the horse thing, I think was very much the same way. They thought they were going to show, Moraine is willing to kill a horse because in order to make things happen. What they forgot was that you can use
the good.
Yeah, but they forgot you could use remounts. You know, an extra horse would be helpful in getting away from Lanfear.
They didn't forget remounts because they sent the fat chick with the other 2 horses as remounts.
Yeah, so or they could have sent the other 2 horses the opposite direction. So Lanfear would have had to choose: does she go route A or route B? So she has a 50% chance of getting away. The problem
Lanfear
is
could have fucking traveled to like all 3
Yeah.
but
so by
as was
doing
established, all roads led to Tarvalon because of course it did.
Yeah, so that that
well,
was
exactly. Why would she have to ride a
horse in the first place?
I was really coming on here to try to like. I'm gonna disagree with you guys. Why wouldn't she just travel to Tarvalon? She knows that's where they're going. I'm making Jeremy's arguments.
No, you're good.
It's only 3
often
hours
I lean
away.
into the book of I often lean into the book apologist mode because Jeremy is like, I hate it.
I get it. It sometimes helps to have 2 different perspectives to have a conversation.
But you guys will at least like back up your points. Jeremy's just like, I hate it.
That's
I'm
fair.
like, tell me why you hate it, fucker. We grew up
got you.
together, so
You got the whole series there.
Families like that sometimes. We were talking about something and I blanked on it now.
just Lanfear killing horses and not traveling.
Oh yeah, I mean, terrible. That makes Lanfear an idiot. You know,
Right?
Is she
and like,
really-
and like, what
Wait.
show mechanics
What-
could you give to explain her decision?
But no, what makes Lanfear an idiot is when she literally says, "Is there anything slower than a horse?" As she gets on the horse because it's faster than her walking.
yes, rather than traveling.
No, rather than walking.
Rather than walking. Yes, that's
Walking is slower than going by horse. That's
You guys are
exactly why
funny.
you fucking exploded this dude's head. That's why you're getting on this fucking horse, is because getting on the horse is faster than walking. You dumb bitch.
You guys are funny because you're like my wife. Like,
Ouch.
she's a very reality-based person. Like Harry Potter, she's like, magic doesn't exist, fuckers. There's no platform 9 3/4, so go fuck yourself. You know, lightsabers aren't real, bro. Like, so, but at the same time, like, you guys are on board with the story, so it's like it's a little bit more.
Yeah, we
Oh.
She
accept
has
the
a hard time
magic.
suspending her disbelief in general. Your problem is with the magic mechanics, and my problem is with the magic mechanics too. But Robert Jordan's magic mechanics weren't super clear either.
They're pretty well defined. There's
Really? Do you really feel that? Because I feel like people defined them afterwards, like with the +1s and like all of the other
so he
things
never
that were outside of the books.
he never really published the Aes Sedai like power ranking system until like that was posthumous with the guide and whatnot. But he had everybody's kind of relative power rankings already done.
Okay.
He had thought through many fan questions, including things like where he responded to maybe you should get a German Shepherd, which I think was like, well, what if someone bale fired themselves through a gateway and blasted themselves? What would happen? And he was just like,
Jesus.
get a dog.
Yeah.
But questions about like the water bond, how does the water bond survive going into a steading and whatnot? Like he had worked through a lot of things. That being said, I will be the first one to admit, I think he did certain things for plot contrivance reasons, not the least of which is that Shadow Spawn cannot pass through a gateway and survive.
Gateway. Right.
Right? So the Shadow Spawn had to go through the ways, and in a later book they went via Portal Stone, but he basically decided for whatever reason, but I mean there's a whole lot in this in magic systems that if you're Shadow Spawn or you aren't naturally created, you pass through a gateway, you'll die kind of automatically. Which is why Ishamael did not use gateways in order to bring Trollocs into the Two Rivers.
Right. That's why they went through the ways the whole time.
Right.
So, God, I could literally talk to you guys forever because of like, I want to like talk about Loyal and the difference between the season 1 and 2. Just like, yeah, there's so many things. Like, we'll have to do this again.
Absolutely. So speaking of Loyal, were we the only one that thought that was super racist? Like that.
Wait, are we
What,
just
as far as like
ignoring
his
that he,
giant red afro, or
Well, the giant
or
red
that
afro.
that he was murdered at the end of season 1, and then he just came in season 2 and it was okay?
Well, I was going to say the fact that they intentionally like made his nose wider.
His
Like-
nose was
Well, I mean,
wide in the books.
he's described
But-
in the books as, yeah, his nose is. The thing that I was like, actually, Desmond pointed out is that he thinks they made his red hair big afro so they wouldn't have to deal with the ear factor. As far as like when he got disappointed, his ears would droop or things of that nature. Cover the ears, you don't got to deal with that. And then you
Yeah.
have the wide nose. But I definitely like how they made him bigger in season 2. But yeah, he was definitely disappointing.
Okay, so
the
I've
biggest
now, I've
problem
now
is
heard a
that,
couple
that
of
he
people
died
say-
and he came back. Like,
I've
Well,
heard a
yeah,
couple
the whole dagger thing, like, and that they never explained it is, you know, like, trust me, I apologize and want to be positive about a lot of things, but the dagger was like,
and Uno was dead too.
yeah, give me just one reason. Like, I don't even care if it's a shitty reason. Just give me a reason why they didn't die.
So
And
we,
now,
we were
we're just
joking
gonna-
that we were joking that the dagger was going to have stabbed a book in his pocket, and that's what was going to have saved him.
Hey, I mean, that'd be as good as any fucking 90s drama, right? Oh, the
Right.
bullet saved me.
Except he got stabbed
Uh,
many times and there was blood seeping from his wound.
There was
Right.
a red ink bottle in his pocket. Okay,
Look, dude, Alex has got it. Shut
We-
up, Dane.
we-
You
we
figured
had-
it out.
No,
we
Look,
had
to shoot holes in it.
trust me.
They
I
they had a
spent
legit way around this, and it was all like Egwene can heal death. So obviously she went around
Also,
after.
okay, I hate to wind you guys up, but like even the last episode, why wouldn't you just switch Egwene and Nynaeve? Nynaeve, who's
Dude.
the person who can fucking heal anything, or
Dude.
Nynaeve, who can't fucking heal a bruise. Like,
Why
why
did-
did you just switch them?
Why did
why would-
Nynaeve stick an arrow with the fletching still attached through her leg? Like,
Just
Because they can't channel because of my block.
what?
so break the fletching off before you stick it through.
Oh, you and your field medicine.
She's
She's a
a
wisdom. She's a wisdom. She should know field medicine, right? I mean, I'm saying. I know. Trust me. Like, you guys, I'm telling you, Jeremy should just be on your fucking show because me and him argue about all this shit. And like, I come in. It's funny because I come in with like a page worth of like notes. Like, you know, I'm working hard to rebut this because I love it so much, and it's a point of contention because he's the one who introduced it to me, right? So I'm like, no, I'm gonna make you love this, and he's just like, he doesn't even come with a rebuttal like you guys. It's just like, no. Like I cried after one of our episodes because I was just like, can you just engage with me about the debate? And he's like, no, no.
I got you. Yeah, I think we're probably getting close to the end here. Is there?
Yeah, we're done, man. I'm just fucking being a drunk idiot at this point.
you're
No,
good.
that's
that's
my
our
role.
favorite hobby. Yeah, we might have to get you on for a rewatch at some point.
Oh man,
Anytime, man. Anytime.
you should watch some of the
to talk,
rewatches.
though.
I got you. All right.
I like poked in a couple of you guys' videos, and I was like, I was nervous at first because I'm like, man, these guys are either gonna shred me, or anyone who does follow me on Twitter is gonna find out and they hate me. And I'm just like, this was a lot of fun. Like,
No. It,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like people are way too serious. It's a fucking TV show. It should be fun. We should have fun talking about it, whether it's good or bad. And
100%.
it's a TV show, but at the end of the day, like it's an important cultural product for me. And what I don't like about the TV show is that everything, at least from my perspective, seems to be about subverting and undoing what I think were good positive messages out of it. I'm genuinely offended by what some of the creative choices were on the show. I don't think that a lot of the people who work on it are fans of the show. I think they sought out writers who didn't know the books. And at the end of the day, I think they've produced not a subpar product. I think they produced an inferior product. I think they might be happy with it, but fuck them. It's terrible. It's terrible, and there's not a person that I can point to basically be like, oh, if you want to see something good or what, watch this show and then afterwards maybe like see the books or read the books. Very opposite to other things that I've seen earlier, at least in fantasy, where a lot of people were drawn to the books from Lord of the Rings, watching the movies.
Right.
And you know, they get a semblance of the story or whatnot, but the books illuminate a different world to them that maybe they didn't get from the films, which is all the poetry and all the wonderful lore and things that had to be cut out for sake of time. And similarly, Game of Thrones, I thought very faithful early on, but a lot of people, because it was so engaging, decided to read ahead because they had to know kind of what happened later on.
I had read all the books before the show even came out, so but totally people like. But I think people got upset at the end, right?
But people who get told to read Wheel of Time, oh, did you like the first season? One, that's like, no. Most people will say that fucking sucked. But if you tell them to read Wheel of Time nowadays, it's more like in opposition to the show, right? Being like, the show sucked. Don't worry, like the books are actually really good. Go and read the books. Which,
if anything, I could say is that people will read the books now because of the show, and they will realize what a better story it is. Because that's my whole goal with Desmond is to get him to get through the book so he can know the story.
But how much of a downer is that? Like how many more people would you be able to like hook into the story if the first season was good and faithful? Like if it's hard to recommend it to people. I will say that. Like even people who haven't read it, it's like, hey, watch this show. It's really good. Like my father-in-law, he loved Game of Thrones, and he was just like, it's really pretty. It's well acted. I don't understand. Okay. And like, that's the people that you want to hook, right? The random people who've never heard of it. But if it was like, faithful to the books, right? And it's like, if people actually liked it, and then you're just like, how much better would it be? Basically, what would the audience be if essentially you could point to the show and say, that was a faithful adaptation. Go read this. Like if you want to get ahead of season 2, season 3, go read book 2, go read book 3. Right. Because that's what you're in for. And the other thing, it's not like Game of Thrones where it was unfinished. The series was complete. It had a complete arc. It could have finished everything. And if there was going to be edits for brevity, it would have been for brevity. Like everyone noted about Game of Thrones is the problem is like it ran out of source material. And right as soon as season 5, season 6 came along and they didn't have any books to go off of, the show fell off a fucking cliff.
Yeah.
Yep. So
like I said, I'd love to fight with you. You got to go. We got to go. My wife's going to kill me. It's been a ton of fun talking to you guys. Like I said, I can't lie. I was a little afraid because I was like, oh boy, I'm going to get fucking shredded and people are going to hate me. But this was a lot of fun. I mean, I like debating it, and I like people. I love the Wheel of Time, man. And I love the original story, and anybody I can discuss it with,
Yep.
I'm in. Do you see my shelf there, bud?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Like I said, man, all my books are packed away right now, but I got all of them. And like, dude, I want to get on and talk Star Wars with you guys. There's a 9-book series that's Legacy of the Force. Dane, I don't know if you've read it, but it's really good.
I read up to the Young Jedi Knights series, and then I was just like, nah.
So for real, try to find this 1 through 9. It's Legacy of the Force. It starts off, and the first book is Jason Solo, who's a twin of Jaina Solo, which you
I know. Jason
read up until the part where Chewbacca died, and Anakin died right after. So Jason and Jaina.
Wait. Oh, fuck that shit. They killed off
Okay,
Anakin Solo.
Here's the thing: Anakin dies saving like Zek.
Hey guys,
Jaina.
can we knock this out backstage?
Okay,
Oh,
yeah,
man.
2 seconds. Anyways, he dies. The 9-book series has to do with Mara, Ben Solo, who is their son, and he's Jason's apprentice. Boba Fett's in it, and it's fucking fantastic. If they would have made those 3 movies out of those 9 books and the 3 movies instead of the 3 they just made, it would have been the shit. Anyways, I love you guys. It was good to talk to you.
So yeah, so we'll catch you backstage. Don't hit the leave studio button.
Okay.
So thank you to everybody who stuck around. 21 people basically the entire time, and I think we peaked at about 35. Love all of you, especially the people that are going to catch this after the fact. Appreciate all the work and walk in the light.
Bathe in the light.